Chapter 909. Comparison Roar. What responded to the Dark Emperor was a deafening roar. Not good, it's a rank 8 demonic beast, the golden-eyed bull. The lightning wolf king's face changed upon hearing the deafening roar, revealing a trace of fear. A rank 8 demonic beast was equivalent to a human sovereign realm cultivator. Some pinnacle rank 8 demonic beasts were even comparable to an Earth Supreme realm cultivator. What shocked the Lightning Wolf King even more was yet to come. Along with the golden-eyed bull's roar, another ear-piercing sound came from the inner region. Hiss. If the golden-eyed barbaric bull's roar had shocked the Lightning Wolf King, then this ear-piercing roar had made him suck in a breath of cold air. A pinnacle early rank 8 demonic beast. Fire Divine Eagle. Strictly speaking, the golden-eyed bull's strength was only equivalent to a pinnacle first-grade human sovereign, while the golden-eyed bull's strength was equivalent to a second-grade human sovereign. Judging from the sound, it seemed that the golden-eyed bull was fighting with the Fire Divine Eagle. As for the Dark Emperor, he was just coincidentally caught in the shockwave. How unlucky! The Dark Emperor had the urge to curse. His strength was only at the early phase manifestation realm, so he could fight against pinnacle manifestation realm demonic beasts. But against a half-step sovereign or first-grade human sovereign, he would only be left with a grudge. What do we do now? After cursing, the Dark Emperor looked at Ningyu and asked. Swish. Just when the Dark Emperor finished speaking, another huge shock wave came from the other side of the barrier. Everyone, retreat. Sensing the terrifying shock wave, Ningyu's face changed drastically. He grabbed Lu Wei's arm and quickly retreated. Rumble. In the next moment, two massive beings broke through the barrier and appeared before Ningyu and the rest. Looking at the two behemoths in the air and the terrifying aura they exuded, even though Ningyu was mentally prepared, he still couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Terrifying. Extremely terrifying. Extremely terrifying. From the looks of it, the Lightning Wolf King's guess was right. Early Phase 8 demonic beast, golden-eyed bull, had the strength of a pinnacle first-grade human sovereign. Peak early 8th grade demonic beast, Fire Divine Condor, 2nd grade early human supreme martial artist strength. Golden-eyed bull, I advise you to quickly hand that thing over. Otherwise, today will be the day you die. In midair, the Fire Divine Condor merely glanced at Ningyu's group before choosing to ignore them. Instead, it spoke coldly to the golden-eyed bull before it. You want the treasure that I've guarded for decades. Why don't you see if you have the ability? The golden-eyed barbaric bull grinned and said in a deep voice, Don't be fooled by the fact that your strength has reached the second-grade sovereign realm. Your offensive power is limited, and it's impossible for you to break through my defense. In that case, let's give it a try. The Fire Divine Condor let out a low roar. The wings on its back flapped rapidly as it rushed out in an instant. Roar. The golden-eyed barbaric bull's eyes turned cold, and it opened its mouth and roared out a terrifying shockwave. Retreat again. When he saw the shockwaves from the golden-eyed bull's roar, Ningyu immediately made a decision to retreat again. Compared to Zhu Zhen's dragon elephant roar, the shockwave from the golden-eyed bull's roar was much more powerful. Ningyu knew that if it was just him, it wouldn't matter even if he stayed behind. Most importantly, Lu Wei was also here, and he had to protect Lu Wei's safety. Swish. Thus, Ningyu and the rest retreated rapidly, only stopping after they had retreated far away. Gulp. When they saw the battle between the golden-eyed bull and the Fire Divine Condor, Ningyu and the rest swallowed a mouthful of saliva. This was a true battle between demonic beasts. Ningyu looked at the Lightning Wolf King, then looked at the golden-eyed bull in midair. His meaning was self-evident. They were both first-grade sovereign realm cultivators, so why was there such a huge difference in their strength? The Lightning Wolf King's face was filled with embarrassment. Although he was a first-grade sovereign realm cultivator, he was still worlds apart from the golden-eyed bull and the Fire Divine Condor. The golden-eyed bull and the Fire Divine Condor are overlord-level demonic beasts even in the core region of the magical beast mountain range. The Lightning Wolf King felt that he should explain. Otherwise, it would be awkward if Ningyu thought that he didn't use his full strength in the previous battle. It doesn't make sense at all. Qin Xiong frowned and murmured, "At this time, it's impossible for the demonic beasts in the inner region to come to the forbidden area, unless something happened in the core region. Anything that happened has nothing to do with us." The Dark Emperor rolled his eyes at Qin Xiong and said indifferently, "We have two choices now. First, leave the magical beast mountain range. Second, wait for the battle between the golden-eyed bull and the Li Fire Divine Condor to end before slowly entering the inner region." "It's impossible to leave." Ningyu pondered for a moment, then looked at Qin Xiong and said solemnly, "Since your destination is the core region of the magical beast mountain range, you must be prepared for such a situation." "I'm indeed prepared." Qin Xiong didn't want to hide anything. She took out a jade bottle and threw it to Ningyu. "There's an aura concealment pill inside. It can hide from demonic beasts and cultivators below grade 3 human supreme." Aura concealment pill. Taking out a white elixir from the jade bottle, Ningyu revealed a shocked expression. Aura concealment pill, a top-notch grade 8 elixir. Compared to concealment techniques, the aura concealment pill was much more powerful. Concealment techniques were affected by one's soul power and cultivation, but the aura concealment pill was different. Any cultivator that consumed the aura concealment pill could hide their aura for a short period of time. Even a grade 3 human supreme wouldn't be able to detect them. "Everyone take one. Take it now." Ningyu didn't hesitate and immediately distributed the elixir in the jade bottle. It's indeed effective. After the Dark Emperor and the rest consumed the aura concealment pill, Ningyu's worries were slightly alleviated. Even with his powerful senses, he couldn't detect the Dark Emperor's true cultivation. Looking at him, the Dark Emperor didn't have any energy fluctuations and was no different from an ordinary person. "Look, the golden-eyed bull and the Li Flaming Divine Condor are about to determine the victor." At this moment, the Dark Emperor pointed at the two demonic beasts fighting in the sky. "Rustle." Hearing that, everyone shifted their gazes towards the sky. The Li Flaming Divine Condor flapped its wings and opened its beak, spitting out a purple flame. Sizzle. 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 Just as the golden-eyed bull had said, the flame spat out by the Li Flaming Divine Condor couldn't even break through its defenses. Die. The golden-eyed bull's expression was cold as it used its horns to stab the Li Flaming Divine Condor's wings. Whoosh. Comparatively speaking, the Li Flaming Divine Condor's defenses were much weaker. Furthermore, the golden-eyed bull's horns were exceptionally hard. Without a doubt, the Li Flaming Divine Condor's wings were pierced by the horns. Rustle. At this crucial moment, the Li Flaming Divine Condor opened its beak again and spat out a waist-thick flame. Roar. This flame seemed to be extremely terrifying, causing the golden-eyed bull to roar. Swish. Right at this moment, a golden cold light suddenly shot out from the golden-eyed bull's body. Chapter 9-10. A mysterious figure swish. Swish. The golden radiance was extremely fast, arriving before Ningyu in the blink of an eye. Demonic beast core. Seeing the true appearance of the golden radiance, Ningyu's face was filled with ecstasy. After the ecstasy, he flew out and grabbed the golden demonic beast core. Go in. Ningyu did not observe the grade of the core, but threw it into his storage ring. Bang. Bang. Ningyu had just put away the inner core. Before he could leave, the golden-eyed barbaric bull and the Li Flaming Divine Condor fell straight to the ground like kites with broken strings. Two crisp sounds rang out as the golden-eyed bull and Li Flaming Divine Condor landed heavily on the ground. Heavy injuries. Clearly, the golden-eyed bull and Li Flaming Divine Condor had suffered heavy injuries, causing their strength to drop significantly. Li Flaming Divine Condor, don't even think about getting what I can't get. Although it had suffered heavy injuries, the golden-eyed bull still had a face filled with anger as it spoke fiercely. You think I have no way of getting that core? The Li Flaming Divine Condor let out a cold snort before it let out a crisp cry. Screech. Whoosh. Along with the cry of the Li Flaming Divine Condor, a few colossal beings flew over from the distance. What? Seeing the approaching figures, the golden-eyed bull's face changed greatly, revealing a terrified expression for the first time. In the golden-eyed bull's view, it and the Li Flaming Divine Condor had both suffered heavy injuries, and it was a competition to see who could recover to their peak state first. Theoretically speaking, the golden-eyed bull's recovery ability was several times stronger than the Lee Flaming Divine Condor's. If there were no accidents, it would definitely recover before the Lee Flaming Divine Condor. However, the arrival of the Lee Flaming Divine Condors had left the golden-eyed bull in despair. Another 4 Lee Flaming Divine Condors. Far away, Ningyu and the rest looked at the 4 Lee Flaming Divine Condors hovering in the air with grave expressions. The cultivation of these 4 Lee Flaming Divine Condors were all at the half-step sovereign realm. With 4 half-step sovereign realm condors joining forces, they could at least contend with a pinnacle grade 1 sovereign. Go, snatch the demon beast core. Seeing that the 4 Lee Fire Divine Condors were in position, the Lee Fire Divine Condor King pointed at Ningyu and the others and berated them. Screech! Screech! The 4 Flaming Divine Condors cried out a few times, then flapped their wings and attacked Ningyu and the others. Lightning Wolf King, you deal with 2 Lee Flaming Divine Eagles first. Qin Xiong and I will deal with 1 each. At this crucial moment, Ningyu hurriedly ordered, Dark Emperor, you and Furball will be responsible for protecting Lu Wei. Whoosh. After giving the instructions, Ningyu wielded the Red Devil Sword and was the first to charge out. Roar. The Lightning Wolf King, on the other hand, held its breath. He had just been called useless by Ningyu. Now that he had a chance to show himself, he decided to kill the 2 Lee Fire Divine Eagles and let Ningyu know how powerful he was. Bang! Dreams were plentiful, but reality was harsh. The Lightning Wolf King had just exchanged blows with the 2 Lee Fire Divine Eagles when he was knocked back several feet. If it wasn't for the fact that his cultivation level was higher than the 2 Lee Fire Divine Condors, he would have died long ago. Damn it! Lightning Wolf King, you deal with this Lee Fire Divine Eagle. Leave the other 2 to me. Seeing that the Lightning Wolf King was so disappointing, Ningyu forced the Lee Fire Divine Eagle to retreat and switched places with the Lightning Wolf King. At this time, the Lightning Wolf King did not pretend to be cool. He was very clear that with his strength, there was no way he could fight against 2 Lee Fire Divine Eagles. If he continued to fight, only death would be waiting for him. Solitaire. Originally, Ningyu still had strength to spare when dealing with 1 Lee Fire Divine Eagle. Now that he was dealing with 2 Lee Fire Divine Eagles, he immediately felt the pressure increase. With a flick of his wrist, Ningyu slashed out several sword waves in succession. Whoosh! Several sword waves flew out at the same time. The scene was very spectacular. However, it was useless. After all, Solitaire was only the 6th form of the Supreme 9 Purities sword art. Its power was limited. If Ningyu were to use the 7th form of the Supreme 9 Purities sword art, he would probably be able to kill 2 Lee Fire Divine Eagles who were half a step into the Supremacy realm. But now, swoosh. The 2 Lee Fire Divine Condors flapped their wings and easily dispersed the sword waves. Moreover, the 2 Lee Fire Divine Eagles even screeched and rushed toward Ningyu. 3 lives palm. Since the sword waves could not pose a threat to the Lee Fire Divine Eagles, Ningyu directly put away the Red Devil Sword and instantly slapped out a shocking palm print. Kai Kai. A huge blood-red palm print separated from Ningyu's right hand and blasted toward the Lee Fire Divine Eagles at an extremely shocking speed. This time, Ningyu did not choose to split the 3 lives palm. Instead, he combined the 3 into 1, intending to kill 1 Lee Fire Divine Eagle. 1-on-1, Ningyu did have the advantage. But 1-on-2, Ningyu did not have such an obvious advantage. If he could kill one of the Lee Fire Divine Eagles, it would be a great relief to the situation. Facing the palm print that was speeding toward them, the 2 Lee Fire Divine Eagles obviously did not take it seriously. They similarly flapped the wings on their back, intending to disperse the sword waves. Explode. This time, the 2 Lee Fire Divine Eagles had obviously miscalculated. When the palm print arrived in front of them, Ningyu let out a low shout and directly detonated the palm print. Poof! Poof! Being affected by the aftermath of the 3 lives palm explosion, even though the 2 Lee Fire Divine Eagles were powerful, it was inevitable that they would suffer a grievance. After killing the 2 Lee Fire Divine Eagles, Ningyu looked at the battlefield where the Lightning Wolf King and Qin Xiong were. He directly sat down cross-legged and chose to recuperate. The reason why Ningyu did not go to help was that he had consumed too much energy and urgently needed to recover his strength. On the other hand, it was because the Lightning Wolf King and Qin Xiong had the upper hand. Poof! Poof! The Lightning Wolf King and Qin Xiong did not disappoint Ningyu. 10 minutes later, they killed the Li Fire Divine Eagles respectively. At this point, only 10 minutes had passed. All 4 Li Fire Divine Eagles that were half a step into the Supremacy Realm were all killed. Fart! In the distance, the Li Fire Divine Eagle King saw that the 4 Li Fire Divine Eagles were killed and immediately spat out a large mouthful of blood. Its originally weak aura became even weaker. Ha ha ha, the golden-eyed bull was constantly paying attention to the battlefield where Ningyu was. When all 4 Li Fire Divine Eagles were killed, he immediately laughed loudly and said, "Li Fire Divine Eagles, it seems that the Li Fire Divine Eagles of your race are all soft persimmons. They look good but are useless. Don't be too proud. I will recover soon. When that time comes, it will be your death." The Li Fire Divine Eagle snorted coldly. "I'm very sorry." However, just as the Li Fire Divine Eagle's voice fell, a voice rang in his ear. Ningyu moved his feet and in the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of the Li Fire Divine Eagle and said, "You may not be able to recover to your peak state. Brat, even if I am severely injured now, killing you is as easy as taking something out of my pocket." The Li Fire Divine Eagle's eyes were extremely gloomy and he scolded, "I advise you to quickly hand over the demonic beast inner cores. Otherwise, I will let you know what cruelty is. Since the demonic beast inner cores are in my hands, I will never hand them over." Ningyu continued, "In the past, you may not have handed over the demonic beast inner cores. But today, I'm afraid you will have to make an exception." Chapter 9:11. Buzz. 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 As soon as he finished speaking, the space shook and a few figures appeared in the area. The sudden appearance of the figures made Ningyu's heart skip a beat and his expression turned solemn. "Hand over the demonic beast inner cores and I can spare your life. Otherwise, you should know the consequences." Among the figures, a young martial artist who was the leader said calmly, "Wouldn't we lose face if we give you the inner cores just because you want them?" Before Ningyu could speak, the Dark Emperor said coldly, "Moreover, there's a first-come, first-served rule for everything. The inner cores came to Ningyu on their own. Why should I hand them over to you?" "Why? Hihi, I'll let you know why." The young martial artist smiled faintly and then raised his eyebrows to his left and right. Swoosh. Beside the young martial art practitioner, the 2 late-stage creation realm martial art practitioners charged towards the Dark Emperor without saying a word. "You're courting death." Looking at the martial artists that were approaching him, the Dark Emperor had a vicious look in his eyes and dashed out like a bolt of lightning. "Keep them alive, Dark Emperor." The Dark Emperor had temporarily lost his mind, but Ningyu was still clear-headed. If he killed someone just because of what they said, he would be no different from a homicidal maniac. No, it should be a homicidal maniac. Even if he wanted to kill someone, he had to give them a chance first. "Oh!" Upon hearing Ningyu's arrogant words, the leading young martial artist raised his eyebrows and said sinisterly, "Do you think that a dead dog at the early stage of the manifestation stage can kill my 2 companions? You're too naive. We'll only know if I'm naive or not after we fight." Ningyu said calmly. Yi Ming and Jian Qiong are peerless geniuses ranked in the top 50 of the 9 Purity Palace. Do you think a mere black dog can kill them? A peak creation realm martial artist next to the leading young martial artist said coldly. "Supreme 9 Purities Temple?" Hearing that, Ningyu was stunned for a moment before his face darkened. The people from the Sovereign 9 Purities Palace were really lingering around like ghosts. First, it was Mu Tian, then Liu Qiong, and now this group of people. It seemed like he was destined to have an unresolved grudge with the people of the Supreme 9 Purities Temple in this life. Since that was the case, Ningyu no longer interfered with the Dark Emperor, and said in a clear voice, "Dark Emperor, if you want to kill, then kill, do not hold back." Roar. Originally, the Dark Emperor was already feeling angry that he couldn't use his full strength. Now that he heard Ningyu's words, he roared towards the sky and unleashed 100% of his strength. F***CK. Is there something wrong with my ears? Shouldn't dogs bark? I'm also curious as to why this dog is barking. Yi Ming, Zhen Qiong, you must keep it alive. We need to examine this black dog carefully. Yes, after the inspection, wouldn't it be wonderful to have a pot of dog meat soup? The Dark Emperor's unconventional roar caused the surrounding martial artists to cry out in alarm. However, these cries were obviously not friendly to the Dark Emperor. These unfriendly cries completely infuriated the Dark Emperor, and he swept his tail at Yi Ming. Not only was the Dark Emperor's tail fast, but it was also extremely powerful. Child's play. In Yi Ming's eyes, the Dark Emperor's tail was very ordinary, and he did not take it seriously at all. Smack. Reality proved that there was a price to pay for seeing the opponent clearly during a battle. Yi Ming paid a heavy price for his carelessness. The Dark Emperor's tail, which was like a 10,000-year-old cold iron, slammed into Yi Ming's body, and Yi Ming was knocked back several meters. Fart. Yi Ming opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood, and his aura dropped from the late-stage manifestation state to the early-stage manifestation state. What? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Yi Ming is a late-stage manifestation state cultivator. How could he be defeated by a black dog? How is that black dog so powerful? It can defeat Yi Ming, who is a late-stage manifestation state cultivator. The discussion that reached his ears made the young martial artist who was the leader look terrible. He was mocking Ningyu and the black dog just now. Who would have thought that he would be slapped in the face a few minutes later? Zhen Qiong, you should know what to do. The young martial artist said in a deep voice. Senior brother Yin Hua, don't worry. I'll let this damn dog know what it means to be. Fart. Zhen Qiong clenched his fists and said fiercely. However, before Zhen Qiong could finish his sentence, his eyes widened, and his body fell to the ground like a kite with a broken string. Bang! Soon, Zhen Qiong fell to the ground with his face on the ground. Gulp! Seeing that Zhen Qiong was defeated, Yin Hua's face instantly darkened and became very ugly. He was slapped in the face again and again. As the third-ranked genius of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, how could Yin Hua tolerate this? There was a saying in the Supreme Nine Purities Temple that other than the top 3 geniuses on the genius ranking, the rest were all mediocre. However, that was also relative. In the entire Sky Demon territory, the geniuses of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple were all top-notch. Now, they were defeated by a black dog one after another. If word got out, the Supreme Nine Purities Temple would definitely become the target of ridicule by the other major forces. Very well. Yin Hua took a deep breath and suddenly unleashed his aura. Half-step Supreme Realm. Sensing the terrifying aura that Yin Hua exuded, Ningyu frowned slightly and vaguely felt that something was not right. He Guan once said that even 10 Liu Qiong would not be a match for Yin Hua. Ningyu knew that Liu Qiong's combat power was still very strong. Under this premise, it was very likely that Yin Hua's cultivation was not at half-step Supreme Realm. Hand over the core and I'll spare your lives, Yin Hua said in a deep voice. Since the core is in my hands, there's no way I'll hand it over. Ningyu still looked calm and unmoved. It's not up to you to decide whether to hand it over or not. Yin Hua snorted coldly. I've never failed to get what I want. I'm sorry, but you might fail this time. Ningyu shrugged. Go. Don't leave a single one alive. Yin Hua waved his hand and issued the death order. Roar. As soon as Yin Hua issued the order, an earth-shattering roar entered his ears. Hearing that, Yin Hua's expression changed drastically and he hurriedly turned around. On the other side, the golden-eyed bull roared at the sky and stood up again. Moreover, the golden-eyed bull exuded a terrifying aura and did not seem to be injured at all. Screech. As the golden-eyed bull stood up, the Lee-Fire Divine Eagle also cried at the sky and flapped its wings, flying into the sky. Damn it! Seeing the golden-eyed bull and Lee-Fire Divine Eagle gradually recovering their combat power, Yin Hua cursed in his heart. Then, he rolled his eyes and said in a clear voice. Chapter 912. Demon Beast Inner Core. Even though Yin Hua was very confident in his own strength, he was definitely unwilling to go head-to-head with the Lee-Fire Divine Eagle and the golden-eyed Barbaric Bull. Even if he could kill the golden-eyed barbaric bull and the Lee-fire divine condor, he would still suffer heavy injuries and not obtain any substantial benefits. Rather than that, it was better to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. Golden-eyed bull, it's meaningless for us to continue fighting like this. In my opinion, why don't we deal with these small fries first? In mid-air, the Lee-fire divine condor rolled its eyes and said, "After we kill these small fries, we'll settle this." "All right. You go and deal with the small shrimps that came later. Leave the shrimps that came before to me." The golden-eyed barbaric bull's mind stirred, and it directly flashed out explosively, charging towards Ningyu and the others. Don't look at how the golden-eyed barbaric bull looked very boorish on the surface, he was very meticulous in his heart. The demon beast's inner core was with Ningyu. If he chose to deal with Ningyu and the others, he would definitely be able to obtain the demon beast's inner core. Moreover, compared to Yinhua and the others, Ningyu and the others were much weaker. Humph. I'll let you show off for a while. Although the golden-eyed bull was scheming, the Lee-fire divine condor was no fool. The Lee-fire divine condor clan did not only have 4 Lee-fire divine condors that were half a step into the supremacy realm. As long as he persevered for a while longer, when the rest of the Lee-fire divine condor clan arrived, the golden-eyed barbaric bull would definitely have nowhere to run. Go. When he saw the golden-eyed bull charging towards him, Ningyu let out a low bellow. He drew the red demon sword and was the first to face the golden-eyed bull. Swoosh. Since Ningyu had already made his move, the Lightning Wolf King and Qin Xiong didn't stay idle either. They rushed out in unison and cooperated with Ningyu to fight the golden-eyed bull. "Kid, hand over the demon beast core, and I can consider leaving your corpse intact." Initially, the golden-eyed barbaric bull thought that he could easily kill Ningyu and the others. However, the more he fought, the more apprehensive he became. The combat strength of Ningyu and the others could only be described as terrifying. Qin Xiong and the Lightning Wolf King were fine, especially Ningyu. He was only at the middle stage of the creation realm, so why was he so powerful? After fighting for a while, the golden eye bull stopped in midair and spoke in a low voice. "How can I hand over the demon beast core that is already in my hands?" Ningyu said coldly, "All right. You are indeed arrogant. I will let you know what cruelty is." The golden eye bull sneered, then forced the Lightning Wolf King and Qin Xiong away, using the horn on its head to stab Ningyu. "Be careful." Seeing this, the Dark Emperor hurriedly warned. The golden-eyed barbaric bull's entire body was extremely tough. However, if one had to say which part was the toughest, it would undoubtedly be its horns. If Ningyu was unlucky enough to be pierced by the golden-eyed bull's horn, he would probably be pierced through. Kill him. At this critical juncture, Ningyu channeled the vital energy in his sea of knowledge into the red demon sword and slashed it through the air. Swoosh. The red demon sword struck the golden-eyed barbaric bull's horn, but the shock and pain that came from the area between his thumb and index finger still caused Ningyu to gasp. "Ha ha ha. You want to go against my horn with a lousy flying sword? Needless to say, you're truly too naive." The golden-eyed bull couldn't help but roar with laughter when it saw Ningyu retreat. However, the golden-eyed bull's wild laughter had only just sounded out when it stopped abruptly. Crack. A clear and resounding sound resounded. Impossible. Subsequently, the golden-eyed bull roared hysterically. The intense pain that came from its horn caused the golden-eyed bull to reveal an expression of disbelief. "I'll tear you apart." At this moment, the golden-eyed bull was utterly furious. It roared furiously once more, and then its figure flashed with the intention of charging at Ningyu. "Golden-eyed bull, aren't you a little stupid?" Ningyu shrugged. He glanced at the other side of the battlefield and said indifferently, "The flaming divine eagle is much smarter." The golden-eyed bull stopped on the spot and looked in the direction of Ningyu's gaze. This glance caused the golden-eyed bull to reveal a ferocious look in its eyes. The flaming divine eagle was very smart. On the surface, the flaming divine eagle and Yinhua's battle was in full swing. However, as a terrifying demon beast like the golden-eyed bull, it was naturally able to determine the actual situation with ease. The flaming divine eagle and Yinhua weren't using their full strength. "What are you doing, flaming divine eagle?" The golden-eyed bull berated furiously. I'm fighting with my life on the line here, but you're rigging the battle over there. Let's go. The flaming divine eagle didn't have much of a reaction when it heard the golden-eyed bull's berating. Instead, Yin Hua tore space apart and dashed towards the depths of the mountain range. Swoosh. Swoosh. With Yin Hua gone, there was no need for the remaining geniuses of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple to stay. They followed closely behind Yin Hua and disappeared. After Yin Hua and the rest completely disappeared, the flaming divine eagle flew over to the golden-eyed bull's side and said indifferently, "Don't make a fuss. It's nothing big." "Humph. Easy for you to say." The golden-eyed bull snorted coldly and said, "I think you won't shed a tear until you see your coffin. Do you really think that I don't dare to make a move against you?" "Haha, I never said that you don't dare to make a move against me." The flaming divine eagle smiled faintly and said, "I'm not targeting you. I just want to say that you're a stupid bull. You dare to call me a stupid bull? I'll tear you apart." The golden-eyed bull was furious to the extreme. It was a golden-eyed bull, and the flaming divine eagle actually called it a stupid bull? In fact, the golden-eyed bull temporarily gave up on Ningyu and turned to charge towards the flaming divine eagle. Screech. However, the golden-eyed bull had just taken a few steps when a cry sounded out from the void. Whoosh. Following that, several flaming divine eagles tore through the void and appeared in front of the flaming divine eagle king. Looking at the sudden appearance of several flaming divine eagles and sensing the terrifying aura they emitted, Ningyu could not help but gasp. 8 flaming divine eagles. 4 half-step supremes and 4 first-grade mortal supremes. Even the golden-eyed bull found this lineup a little tricky. "I have a reason for calling you a stupid bull." With the arrival of its companions, the flaming divine eagle was instantly filled with confidence and said indifferently, "Originally, we only recovered about half of our combat power. What do you have to fight me now? With your intelligence, you actually want to fight with me for the demonic beast core? Why don't you look in the mirror and see what you look like? Kid, hand over the demonic beast core and I can spare your life and let you leave." Following that, the flaming divine eagle looked at Ningyu and said, "I'm a man of my word. You don't have to worry about my credibility at all." Hearing that, Ningyu's eyes flickered uncertainly. The flaming divine eagle was not in a hurry. He already had the absolute advantage anyway. As long as he kept his guard up against the golden-eyed bull, it would be logical for him to obtain the demonic beast core. After a while, Ningyu took out the demonic beast core from his storage ring. Chapter 9:13. Run throw the demon beast core over. The Lee Fire Divine Condor did not hide the ecstasy in its eyes as it said to Ningyu, "I'll spare your life." This demonic beast's cultivation was at least a 6th-grade human sovereign when it was alive. Ningyu did not answer the Lee Fire Divine Condor's question directly. Instead, he used a bit of his perception to probe the inner core of the demon beast in his hand. The inner core of a demonic beast with the strength of a 6th-grade human supreme. No wonder the Lee Fire Divine Eagle and the golden-eyed bull would fight for it. The Lee Flaming Divine Eagle was a Grade 2 human sovereign, while the golden-eyed bull was a peak Grade 1 human sovereign. There was no doubt that between the two of them, no matter who refined this demonic beast core, their strength would increase by a small level. "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and toss the core over." Seeing Ningyu's actions, the Lee Fire Divine Condor berated. Swish 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 swish. As the Lee Fire Divine Condor's voice faded, the figures of the 4 half-step supreme being Lee Fire Divine Condors flashed and landed beside Ningyu. This time, there were a total of 8 Lee Fire Condors. 4 of them were at the half-step supremacy stage and 4 were at the first-grade human supremacy stage. The Grade 1 Sovereign Lee Fire Divine Condor placed all its attention on the golden-eyed barbaric bull, guarding against any sudden attacks from it. As for the other 4 half-step Honorable Realm demonic beasts, they would be used to pressure Ningyu. "Brat, if you dare give the demonic beast inner core to the Lee Flaming Divine Condor, I will definitely cut you into 8 pieces." The Lee Fire Divine Condor wanted the demonic beast core. The golden-eyed barbaric bull naturally wanted it too. Seeing the 4 fire god condors closing in on Ningyu, the golden-eyed bull said in a deep voice, "If you're sensible, quickly toss the demonic beast core to me. I can guarantee your safety." Ha ha ha. The Lee-Fire Divine Condor raised its head and laughed wildly. Then, it said coldly, "Golden-eyed barbaric bull, do you really think you can guarantee that kid's safety?" Swish 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 swish. The 4 Grade 1 human sovereign Lee-Fire Divine Condors understood and immediately surrounded the golden-eyed barbaric bull. Humph! How dare a few stray birds be so arrogant? The golden-eyed barbaric bull snorted coldly. Screech! The golden-eyed barbaric bull's cold snort became the fuse. 4 Grade 1 human sovereign Lee-Fire Divine Condors rushed out together. Their target was the golden-eyed barbaric bull. Roar! The golden-eyed bull wouldn't just sit and wait for death. His 4 hooves stomped on the ground and his body rushed out like lightning, engaging in a great battle with the 4 Fire Divine Condors. Although the golden-eyed barbaric bull had suffered heavy injuries and had yet to recover to its peak state, its battle prowess was still very formidable. The 4 Grade 1 human sovereign Lee-Fire Divine Condors were actually at a complete disadvantage. Furthermore, at this rate, it wouldn't be long before all 4 Lee Flaming Divine Eagles were killed. I'll ask you one last time. Are you going to hand over the demonic beast core or not? The Lee-Fire Divine Condor King's expression turned ugly as he turned to Ningyu and said coldly, "The inner core of a 6th grade human supreme realm demonic beast." Ningyu's eyes turned rapidly, and then he gritted his teeth and said in a deep voice, "If you want the core, we'll have to see if you have the ability." As soon as he finished speaking, Ningyu rose from the ground and flew into the distance. The moment he flew out, Ningyu transmitted his voice to the Dark Emperor and the rest. "I'll lure these Lee-Fire Divine Condors away first. You guys must ensure Lu Wei's safety." With that, without waiting for the Dark Emperor's reply, Ningyu raised his speed to the limit and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Damn it! Chase! The Lee-Fire Divine Condor didn't expect Ningyu to be so fast. He cursed inwardly and flapped his wings to fly out. Whoosh! Behind the Lee-Fire Divine Condor, the 4 half-supreme realm Lee-Fire Divine Condors also dashed out and gave chase. "Where are you going?" The golden-eyed bull's expression changed drastically when he saw Ningyu and the rest leaving. In the next instant, the golden-eyed bull forced the 4 Grade 1 human supreme realm Lee-Fire Divine Condors away and chased after Ningyu. The golden-eyed bull wasn't a fool. The demonic beast core was in Ningyu's hands. If he continued to fight here, he probably wouldn't even get any leftovers. The Lee-Fire Divine Condor was, after all, a Grade 2 human supreme realm Lee-Fire Divine Condor. In the golden-eyed bull's opinion, it was only a matter of time before Ningyu was killed. As long as he could find Ningyu before Ningyu was killed, he could prevent the demonic beast core from being obtained by the Lee-Fire Divine Condor. What should we do? After Ningyu and the rest had completely disappeared, the Lightning Wolf King opened his mouth and asked, "What else can we do?" One word: wait. Qin Xiong couldn't be bothered with the Lightning Wolf King. She sat down beside a huge tree and closed her eyes to rest. The Lightning Wolf King revealed an awkward expression and chose to wait by the side. "Dark Emperor, Ningyu should be fine, right?" Lu Wei looked worriedly in the direction that Ningyu had left in and whispered, "It's fine." With the red skin following him, Ningyu shouldn't be in any danger. The Dark Emperor squeezed out a smile. In fact, the Dark Emperor was also worried about Ningyu's safety. After all, the Lee-Fire Divine Condor and the golden-eyed bull weren't just for show. Their strength was heaven-defying. Not to mention the fact that Ningyu was only in the intermediate manifestation realm. Even if Ningyu was in the pinnacle manifestation realm, it would still be difficult for him to have a good time. However, beside Lu Wei, the Dark Emperor didn't dare to show a trace of worry. If Lu Wei were to unleash her extreme yin physique, he wouldn't be able to withstand it. Swish, swish, swish. In the depths of the magical Beast Mountain range, a few figures streaked across the sky as they rapidly advanced. Taking a closer look, the one at the front was a cultivator in the intermediate manifestation realm. Behind this warrior was a Grade 2 human supreme realm Lee-Fire Divine Condor. Behind the Lee-Fire Divine Condor were 4 half-sovereign Lee-Fire Divine Condors. Behind them were the golden-eyed bull and 4 Grade 1 sovereign Lee-Fire Divine Condors. "Brat, you won't be able to escape. Hand over the demonic beast core or die." The Lee Fire Divine Condor berated as he tried his best to increase his speed. You want me to stop? How is that possible? Ningyu didn't even bother to look back at the Lee Fire Divine Condor. At this moment, he only had one thought in his mind, and that was to escape. In fact, Ningyu didn't even hesitate to burn his blood essence to increase his speed. Ningyu was clear that he would definitely die if the Lee Fire Divine Condor caught up to him. There was still a chance of survival if he escaped, so why not? Damn it! Seeing that Ningyu didn't have any reaction, the Lee Fire Divine Condor scolded, "Don't let me catch up to you, or I'll cut you into pieces. There are plenty of people who want to cut me into pieces. Who the hell do you think you are?" Ningyu curled his lips and increased his speed once again, increasing the distance between him and the Lee Fire Divine Condor. The Lee Fire Divine Condor was furious. No matter what, it was a flying demonic beast. If it couldn't even catch up to an intermediate manifestation realm cultivator, how was it going to establish itself in the magical beast mountain range? Screech. Therefore, the Lee Fire Divine Condor screeched to the sky, and the wings on its back flapped rapidly. Its speed instantly doubled. This time, the Lee Fire Divine Condor and Ningyu were getting closer and closer. At this speed, Ningyu would be caught up in at most 3 minutes. Chapter 9:14. Swallow. No, I have to think of a way to shake them off. Ningyu fled at full speed while quickly thinking of a countermeasure. Ningyu was still very self-aware. He knew that once he was caught, the consequences would be unimaginable. Being killed would be the lightest punishment. Given the Lee Flaming Divine Condor's rage, it was very likely that it would cut him into pieces. Drip, drip. Time passed by the minutes and seconds. In the depths of the magical beast mountain range, Ningyu was constantly fleeing. Although Ningyu's speed was getting faster and faster, the distance between him and the Lee Flaming Divine Condor was getting shorter and shorter. Screw it. 2.5 minutes later, Ningyu gritted his teeth and made an extremely bold decision. Crack. With a flick of his wrist, Ningyu directly threw the demonic beast core into his mouth. A crisp sound rang out. Ningyu swallowed the demon beast's inner core in one gulp. What? The Lee Flaming Divine Condor's eyes were very sharp. He saw Ningyu's actions at a glance. After Ningyu swallowed the demonic beast core into his stomach, the Lee Flaming Divine Condor was even momentarily stunned. Swish. It was during this short period of time that the Lee Flaming Divine Condor was caught up to by the golden-eyed bull. Boom. The golden-eyed bull had always held a grudge against the Lee Flaming Divine Condor. Now that it had caught up to the Lee Flaming Divine Condor, it did not say anything and immediately launched a terrifying attack. The Lee Flaming Divine Condor's attention was completely focused on Ningyu. It did not even have time to react to the golden-eyed bull's sneak attack. Bang! Its body fell heavily onto the ground. The Lee Flaming Divine Condor was instantly enraged. Golden-eyed bull, don't think that I don't dare to kill you. Idiot! The golden-eyed bull knocked down the Lee Flaming Divine Condor with a single move. After leaving these words, it quickly chased after Ningyu. I'm so angry. When had the Lee Flaming Divine Condor ever suffered such anger? The wings on its back flapped rapidly as it chased after the golden-eyed bull at an extremely shocking speed. At this moment, the Lee Fire Divine Condor had one more person on its must-kill list. Be it Ningyu or the golden-eyed bull, the Lee Fire Divine Eagle had to kill them all. Bang! Bang! Ningyu did not care about the enmity between the Lee Flaming Divine Condor and the golden-eyed barbaric bull. After he swallowed the demonic beast's inner core, his heart let out thumping sounds from time to time. Along with this muffled sound, Ningyu clearly felt a ball of fire burning in his body. Suppress him. Ningyu immediately sent a portion of his soul force into his body and began to frantically suppress the demonic beast core. The inner core of a 6th-grade human supreme realm demonic beast. Even though Ningyu was prepared, it was difficult for him to completely suppress this kind of violent energy. Kai Kai. Strands of energy flowed out from the edge of the seal and entered Ningyu's sea of consciousness. I need to find a place to refine this energy. As the energy in his sea of consciousness increased, the pressure on Ningyu increased. In the end, Ningyu's face even became distorted. A cave. Just at this moment, a cave appeared not far away. The sudden appearance of the cave caused Ningyu's face to be filled with joy. Without caring about anything else, Ningyu directly increased his speed and entered the cave in front of the Flaming Divine Condor and the golden-eyed bull. Darkness. The moment he entered the cave, Ningyu saw endless darkness. There was not a single trace of light in his eyes. Ningyu would not foolishly light up the cave. He wished that the cave would remain dark. Following the cave, Ningyu continuously increased his speed, getting further and further away from the cave entrance. Whoosh! At the same time, at the entrance of the cave, the Flaming Divine Condor and the golden-eyed bull met. Neither of them wanted to give way. I advise you to get lost. Otherwise, I'll let you know what regret is. The Flaming Divine Condor scolded. I've never known regret. Now that the demonic beast core is in the cave, I don't think that kid will be able to refine it in a short period of time. Let's settle this here, the golden-eyed bull said coldly. You want to settle this with me? The Flaming Divine Condor agreed with the golden-eyed bull's words from the bottom of his heart. There was no way that Ningyu could refine the demonic beast core of a 6th-grade human sovereign. It was estimated that after a while, Ningyu would explode because of the powerful energy. Cut the crap. Hand over your life. The golden-eyed bull roared and immediately charged out. His target was the golden-eyed bull. Stop him. Although the Flaming Divine Condor wanted to kill the golden-eyed bull, he knew what was more important. The demonic beast core. As long as he stopped the golden-eyed bull, he could enter the cave and obtain the demonic beast core. Under this premise, the Flaming Divine Condor naturally did not want to fight the golden-eyed bull head-on. Die. The golden-eyed bull's eyes widened. Then, several cold rays of light shot out from its eyes. Swish. Swish. The speed of the cold rays was very fast. It was so fast that the 4 half-step Supreme Flaming Divine Condors were struck by the cold rays and died on the spot before they could even react. The reason why the golden-eyed bull was called the golden-eyed bull was because of its eyes. Every once in a while, the golden-eyed bull's eyes would shoot out a cold ray of light. The might of the cold ray of light went without saying. It was rather powerful. The 4 half-step Supreme Being Fire Divine Condors didn't even have the time to blink before they were annihilated. Swish. Swish. After casually killing the 4 half-step Supreme Flaming Divine Condors, the golden-eyed bull attacked once again. Its target was the Flaming Divine Condor Emperor. However, this time, the 4 first-grade Supreme Flaming Divine Condors blocked the Flaming Divine Condor Emperor, blocking the cold ray of light that shot out from the golden-eyed bull's eyes. Poochie. Without a doubt, under the powerful attack of the golden-eyed bull, the 4 first-grade Supreme Flaming Divine Condors died on the spot. Hand over your life. After killing 8 Flaming Divine Condors, the golden-eyed bull's battle intent seemed to have soared to the peak. Lunatic. The Flaming Divine Condor hurriedly dodged to the side and dodged the golden-eyed bull's fatal attack. Aren't you afraid of dying from the backlash of using your eyes so excessively? The Flaming Divine Condor berated. Backlash? It's enough to kill you before the backlash occurs. The golden-eyed bull seemed to be possessed. It completely ignored the Flaming Divine Condor's advice and increased the intensity of its attack. Rumble. Fortunately, the Flaming Divine Condor was fast enough and dodged the golden-eyed bull's cold ray attack. Even if it was hit by a ray of cold ray, it would be enough to make the Flaming Divine Condor suffer. Lunatic. What a lunatic. After dodging the golden-eyed bull's attack, the Flaming Divine Condor tore through the void and dashed towards the cave. I'll let you be smug for now. I'll settle the score with you after I obtain the demonic beast core. At this moment, the Flaming Divine Condor thought to itself. What are you guys trying to do? However, just as the Flaming Divine Condor arrived at the entrance of the cave, a loud roar rang in its ears before it could even enter. Hearing this, the Flaming Divine Condor's expression changed drastically as it hurriedly retreated to the side. On the other side, the golden-eyed bull also stopped its attack in an instant as a look of shock appeared in its eyes. Whoosh! The next moment. Chapter 9:15. Refined inner core hiss. Looking at the colossus that had suddenly appeared, the Inferno Divine Condor and the golden-eyed barbaric bull both gasped. Peak early 8th rank demonic beast, gold-devouring demon lion. Among the early 8th rank demonic beasts, the gold-devouring demon lion was undoubtedly the king. A peak early-stage 8th order gold-devouring demon lion could even contend with some mid-stage 8th order demonic beasts. At this moment, the Lee Flaming Divine Condor's expression was especially ugly, because the metal-devouring demon lion's aura was locked onto him. If he dared to do anything, the metal-devouring demon lion would most likely strike. Even at its peak, the Lee Fire Divine Condor could hardly compete with the metal-devouring demon lion, let alone now that it only had 70 to 80% of its peak strength. We were just passing by. We didn't know this was your territory. The Lee Flaming Divine Condor forced himself to calm down and said awkwardly, "Humph. Don't think that I'm easy to fool. You just want to enter the cave and steal my treasures." The metal-devouring demon lion let out a cold snort and immediately attacked the Divine Fire Condor. The metal-devouring demon lion was called the metal-devouring demon lion because he liked to collect treasures. Obviously, the metal-devouring demon lion thought that the Lee Fire Divine Condor was going to enter the cave to steal his treasures. He would definitely be angry. Rumble. In the face of such a powerful attack, the Lee Fire Divine Condor flapped its wings hurriedly and flew towards the golden-eyed bull. Luckily, the Lee Flaming Condor was very fast. Otherwise, this attack from the metal-devouring demon lion would have been enough to send him to hell. Lee Fire Divine Condor, what are you trying to do? Seeing the Lee Fire Divine Eagle flying in its direction, the golden-eyed barbaric ox's expression changed drastically, and it bellowed furiously. What? You stupid cow, the most important thing right now is that we have a chance of survival if we join hands. Otherwise, we'll all die. The Lee Fire Divine Condor had a long-term vision. If he and the golden-eyed bull split up and fled, given how terrifying the metal-devouring demon lion was, they would probably be caught before long. Rather than running away, he might as well stay and fight the metal-devouring demon lion. After all, the gold-devouring demon lion's cultivation was only at the pinnacle of the second-grade sovereign realm. If they attacked together, they might be able to hold on. All right, I'll believe you this once. The golden-eyed barbaric bull shouted in a low voice, and then it joined the battlefield. You two thieves, I will tear you apart. The metal-devouring demon lion's face was filled with rage. His cave was being peeped at. He definitely couldn't stand it. Only by killing the Lee Flaming Divine Eagle and the golden-eyed barbaric bull would he be able to resolve the hatred in his heart. Meanwhile, in the deepest part of the cave, Ningyu looked at the huge pool in front of him and the white liquid in the pool. His mouth was slightly agape and his face was filled with shock. Gulp. Swallowing a mouthful of saliva, Ningyu opened his mouth wide and said in disbelief, "It's all innate spirit dew." The innate spirit dew could only be produced in some special places. An ordinary early-stage manifestation realm martial artist would have an 80% chance of advancing to the mid-stage manifestation realm if he could obtain a few bottles of innate spirit dew. Now that there was such a big pond of innate spirit dew, how could Ningyu not be shocked? Rumble. Suddenly, the cave shook violently. There are people fighting outside. In an instant, Ningyu reacted. Not good. As soon as Ningyu came to his senses, he felt the demon beast core in his body changing. Crack. A faint sound came from within Ningyu's body, causing Ningyu's expression to change drastically. The demon beast core is about to shatter. I have to refine it completely. Ningyu gritted his teeth and jumped into the pool with a plop. The current situation did not allow Ningyu to think too much. Since he had swallowed the demon beast core, it meant that he had no way out. Under this premise, he could only refine the demon beast core with the innate spirit dew in order to have a chance of survival. Otherwise, when the battle between the golden-eyed barbaric bull and the Lee Flaming Divine Eagle ended, only death would await him. I'm King dead. As soon as he jumped into the pool, Ningyu could not help but curse. Pain. Excruciating pain. It could be said that this pain surpassed all the pain that Ningyu had experienced in the past. Get in. Enduring the pain all over his body, Ningyu wrapped the demon beast core in his body with yuan qi and sent it into his consciousness. Crack, crack, crack. As soon as the demon beast core entered his consciousness, it shattered completely. Spiritual transformation technique. After the demon beast core shattered, Ningyu hurriedly activated the spiritual transformation technique and started to absorb the violent energy within the demon beast core. Fart. 3 minutes later, Ningyu spat out a mouthful of fresh blood and his face became distorted. Damn it. The energy is too violent. After all, it was a 6th grade human supreme realm demon beast core. Even if Ningyu was prepared, he still could not handle it. The energy in his consciousness was completely violent and could not be suppressed. What should I do? Ningyu's eyes moved rapidly as he tried to think of a solution. Ningyu was well aware of his own situation. If he could not get rid of the excess energy in his consciousness would explode and he would die on the spot. Furthermore, apart from the violent energy in his consciousness, the endless innate spirit Dew also entered Ningyu's body through his skin. The innate spirit Dew in the pool was not any weaker than the 6th grade human supreme realm demon beast core. Ah! The intense pain made Ningyu let out a hysterical roar. Swoosh! However, just when Ningyu was about to lose it, a cold light suddenly shot out from the storage ring. The sprout of the world tree. Looking at the sprout of the world tree floating in front of him, Ningyu's face was filled with joy. How could he forget about this bottomless pit? When the sprout was still in the bud stage, the rate at which it absorbed energy was already terrifying and it often competed with Ningyu for energy. Now that he had a large amount of innate spirit Dew and the 6th grade human supreme realm demon beast core, it could even cause the sprout to evolve. Whoosh! Perhaps it had guessed what Ningyu was thinking. The sprout turned into a shadow and dived into the bottom of the pool to start devouring the innate spirit Dew. The speed at which the sprout devoured the innate spirit Dew was very fast. In just a few seconds, the amount of innate spirit Dew in the pool had decreased significantly. All of you, get out. This situation was clearly what Ningyu wanted to see. Therefore, with a thought, Ningyu used all his strength to force the energy in his mind out of his body. Beads of sweat appeared on his forehead, but Ningyu did not care about it at all. This could be said to be the most difficult moment Ningyu had experienced since his rebirth. Although Ningyu had encountered many dangers in the past, it was nothing compared to the current situation. There were only 2 possibilities. The sprout displayed its might and devoured 80 to 90% of the energy produced by the innate spirit Dew and the demonic beast core, leaving only 10% for Ningyu. Under such circumstances, Ningyu might even be able to advance further and advance from the middle stage of the manifestation realm to the late stage of the manifestation realm. As for the second possibility, the sprout could not devour that much energy. Under such circumstances, it was highly likely that Ningyu would die in this cave. It was a moment of life and death. Chapter 9:16. Late stage of manifestation realm. TSK. Inside the cave. Inside the cave. Ningyu had a ferocious look on his face. He was sweating profusely, but he did not dare to wipe it off. Because the speed at which the sprout was devouring the energy was simply too fast, the primordial spirit Dew in the pool was decreasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before all the primordial spirit Dew in the pool was completely devoured. As the primordial spirit Dew continued to decrease, the sprout also underwent a huge change. The sprout grew bigger and bigger, gradually taking the shape of a sapling. Fortunately, Ningyu's attention was not on the sprout. Otherwise, he would definitely be distracted if he saw the changes in the sprout. The sprout was born from a branch of the world tree. Once it grew into a towering tree, it would be another world tree. If Ningyu could carry a world tree with him, what difference would it make from carrying a huge amount of Shenyang pills? Fortunately, as the sprout devoured the primordial spirit Dew, Ningyu could feel the energy in his consciousness decreasing. He could not help but let out a long sigh. Most of the energy in Ningyu's consciousness was produced by the shattering of the demonic beast's core. Now that more than half of it had been expelled, Ningyu was naturally very satisfied. Spiritual art. Time continued to pass. About an hour had passed. When Ning-Yu realized that 90% of the energy in his consciousness had been reduced, he hurriedly activated the spiritual art and began to refine the remaining energy in his consciousness. Wang. Even though there was only about 10% of the energy left from the shattering of the demonic beast's core, Ning-Yu still did not dare to be careless. Even if there was only 10% of the energy left from the core of a 6th-grade human supreme, it was still not something that a manifestation realm intermediate stage warrior like Ning-Yu could completely contend against. Therefore, Ning-Yu refined it slowly, not daring to be careless. Bam! Another half an hour passed. A muffled sound came from Ning-Yu's sea of consciousness. Hearing the energy coming from his consciousness, Ning-Yu quickly split a portion of his perception into his consciousness. Sensing the changes in his sea of consciousness, Ning-Yu's expression turned a little strange. He had advanced from the middle stage of the creation realm to the late stage of the creation realm. It was obvious that even Ning-Yu himself did not know how he could advance to the later stage of the blessed realm so quickly. There were no signs at all. Ning-Yu had thought that he would need to completely refine the energy in his consciousness before he could advance to the later stage of the creation realm. He had not even refined half of it. How could he advance? Law of space. Suddenly, Ning-Yu stared at the purple ball of light floating in his sea of consciousness. His heart was in turmoil. The other half of the energy in his sea of consciousness was actually swallowed and refined by this wisp of spatial law power. Whoosh! However, Ning-Yu's shock did not last long before the law of space broke through his sea of consciousness and drilled into the pool. Ning-Yu was dumbfounded. That was because the law of space was actually fighting with the world tree's sprout over the innate spirit dew. Originally, only the sprout of the world tree was swallowing the primordial spirit dew. The rate of reduction of the primordial spirit dew in the pool was not very fast. But with the addition of the spatial law, the primordial spirit dew was decreasing at a terrifying speed. Whoosh! A minute later, Ning-Yu looked at the empty pool and could not help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. Wasn't this too terrifying? The speed at which the sprout of the world tree swallowed energy was already scary enough. He did not expect the speed at which the spatial law swallowed energy was even more terrifying. Oh, right. Now that I have advanced to the late stage of the creation realm, why don't I try to control the spatial law? Previously, Ning-Yu only had the cultivation of the middle stage of the creation realm and had no way to control it at all. Now that he had advanced to the late stage of the creation realm and had the help of the sprout of the world tree, he was very confident that he could control the spatial law. Ning-Yu was a man of action. He immediately separated a portion of his soul force and slowly approached the spatial law. After all, if he missed this opportunity, he would not get another one. The spatial law was not like other things. As long as he could not control it, then it could leave at any time. Once the spatial law left, Ning-Yu would really lose everything. Boom! Perhaps it felt the soul force approaching it. The spatial law immediately flew into the air and stared at Ning-Yu like a tiger watching its prey. Swoosh! The sprout of the world tree had a stubborn temper. It was probably because the spatial law had competed with it for the innate spirit dew just now. Now, it bore a grudge and directly dealt with the spatial law together with Ning-Yu. What's going on? When Ning-Yu was fighting against the spatial law, he was very careful. However, the moment his soul force came into contact with the spatial law, Ning-Yu discovered something fishy. The spatial law at this moment was actually strong in appearance but weak in reality. It could not resist at all. Could it be that it has swallowed too much innate spirit dew and is unable to refine it by itself? Ning-Yu thought of this possibility. After all, the sprout of the world tree was backed by the world tree. The speed at which it refined energy was not just for show. Comparatively speaking, the spatial law was much weaker. Under such circumstances, Ning-Yu was able to completely control the law of space without any effort. Now I have it easy. Ning-Yu let out a long sigh of relief. That was close. If not for the spatial law being so greedy, he would not have been able to completely control the spatial law. Now, not only had he advanced to the late stage of the manifestation realm, he had also completely controlled the spatial law. A martial artist with laws was much stronger than a martial artist with a domain. According to Ning-Yu's estimation, If he did not use the spatial law and used all his trump cards, he should be able to fight against a grade 2 supreme martial artist, or even kill one. However, if he encountered a grade 2 supreme martial artist with a domain, Ningyu would have no way to fight back. Of course, it could not be a grade 2 supreme martial artist with an embryonic domain like the talisman supremacy. However, as long as he used the spatial law, even if he encountered a grade 2 supreme martial artist with a domain, Ningyu would be able to directly kill him. Buzz. At this moment, the sprout of the world tree suddenly shook in mid-air. Then, an extremely terrifying energy shot out from it. Feedback energy. This action of the sprout was very familiar to Ningyu. In the past, when the sprout was still a flower bud, it would often feedback energy. However, now that Ningyu had just advanced to the late stage of the manifestation realm, he could not accept the energy feedback from the sprout. Right. Suddenly, Ningyu thought of a countermeasure. Ningyu waved his hands and took out the phantom armor from his storage ring. The phantom armor was the treasure of the Phantom Rat clan. Ever since the phantom armor was heavily damaged, Ningyu had not used it again. On one hand, it was because the phantom armor was only at the heaven rank, so it was not of much help to the enemy. On the other hand, if he wanted to upgrade the phantom armor to the peak of the heaven rank, or even to the king level, he needed too much energy. It was so much that Ningyu could not bear it. Now that the sprout had fed back so much energy, he could use it to upgrade the phantom armor's grade. The sprout fed back so much energy. This time, I'll give it my all and try to upgrade the phantom armor to the king level. Chapter 9:17. Metal Devouring Lion. Meanwhile, at the entrance of the cave where Ningyu was, the battle between the Metal Devouring Demon Lion and the Lee Fire Divine Condor was particularly fierce. Although the Metal Devouring Demon Lion's combat power was very strong and it was at its peak, it was unable to take down the Lee Flaming Divine Condor and the Golden-Eyed Barbaric Bull. The Lee Fire Divine Eagle and the Golden-Eyed Barbaric Bull could be said to be a match made in heaven. One focused on the air while the other focused on the ground. He attacked the Metal Devouring Demon Lion from two different directions. Whenever the Metal Devouring Demon Lion wanted to attack the Lee Fire Divine Condor, the Golden-Eyed Bull would attack and harass it, and vice versa. It made the Metal Devouring Demon Lion very annoyed. Roar. The enraged Metal Devouring Demon Lion raised its head to the sky and roared. Its four hooves stomped on the ground and it charged at the Lee Flaming Condor at an astonishing speed. The Metal Devouring Demon Lion made up its mind. It would ignore the Golden-Eyed Diabolical Bull's attacks and deal with the Lee Flaming Divine Eagle first. As long as they could kill the Lee Fire Divine Condor, the Golden-Eyed Barbaric Bull would definitely not be able to hold on for long. Golden-Eyed Bull, what are you waiting for? Feeling the Metal Devouring Demon Lion's extremely violent attack, the Lee Fire Divine Condor shouted. In fact, the Lee Flaming Divine Condor still had some self-awareness. He knew that with his current strength, there was no way he could compete with the Metal Devouring Demon Lion. Only with the Golden-Eye Bull's coordinated attacks from the ground could he dodge the Metal Devouring Demon Lion's attack. Go! The Golden-Eye Bull's eyes narrowed slightly, and then a cold glow shot out from its eyes. Me. Since the Metal Devouring Demon Lion was determined to kill the Lee Flaming Condor, he naturally wouldn't care about the Golden-Eyed Bull's attack. With a cold snort, the Metal Devouring Demon Lion swept its tail, and a strong gust of wind immediately swept out, colliding with the cold light that shot out from the Golden-Eyed Bull's eyes. Kai kai! The gale collided with the cold light, and it emitted a hissing sound before both of them vanished into the heavens and the earth. Die! After blocking the Golden-Eyed Bull's attack, the Metal Devouring Demon Lion arrived in front of the Lee Fire Divine Condor in the blink of an eye. It raised its front claws and ruthlessly slapped the Lee Fire Divine Condor's body. The Metal Devouring Demon Lion was much stronger than the Lee Fire Divine Condor in both size and strength. If the Lee Fire Divine Condor was unfortunate enough to be caught by the Metal Devouring Demon Lion, even if it didn't die, it would be crippled for life. Damn it! At the critical moment, the Lee Fire Divine Condor cursed inwardly. Then, it did not hesitate to burn its blood essence to increase its speed, wanting to avoid the Metal Devouring Demon Lion's attack. Bang! However, The Leafire condor had obviously underestimated the speed of the metal-devouring demon lion. Though the gold-devouring demon lion was huge, its speed was not slow at all. Just as the flaming divine eagle took a few steps back, it was struck in the back by the metal-devouring demon lion's huge front claw. Catcher! A pair of wings was broken on the spot. With a crisp sound, the Leafire divine eagle fell straight to the ground like a kite with a broken string. Whoosh! Seeing this, the golden-eyed bull's hind hooves stomped on the ground and its body instantly rushed out, catching the Leafire divine eagle before it fell to the ground. Are you all right? The golden-eyed barbaric bull injected a wisp of energy into the Leafire god condor's body and hurriedly said, "I won't die yet." The Leafire divine eagle's eyes were cold as it said fiercely, "The metal-devouring demon lion is really too strong. Let's leave quickly. Leave." The metal-devouring demon lion's ears were very sensitive. As soon as the Leafire divine eagle finished speaking, the corner of its mouth curled up, and it said sinisterly, "You came to my territory and wanted to steal my treasures. If I hadn't returned quickly, wouldn't all the treasures in the cave have been stolen by you? Today, you must die." As soon as the word die was said, the metal-devouring demon lion's eyes turned cold, and its body disappeared instantly. Not good. Retreat quickly. Seeing the metal-devouring demon lion disappear, the Leafire divine eagle and the golden-eyed bull shouted at the same time. Bang! Bang! Just as the Leafire divine eagle and the golden-eyed bull took a few steps back, the space beside them was torn apart, and the metal-devouring demon lion suddenly appeared. The metal-devouring demon lion waved its front claws and slapped the Leafire divine eagle several feet away, causing it to fall on its face. As for the metal-devouring demon lion's tail, it quickly swept towards the golden-eyed bull. Catcher! Although the golden-eyed bull's horn was relatively hard, it still made a cracking sound under the metal-devouring demon lion's powerful attack. The golden-eyed bull's horn had already been cut by Ningyu's red demon sword, and there were some cracks on it. It was reasonable for it to be broken by the metal-devouring demon lion. You must pay for your actions. The metal-devouring demon lion stared at the Leafire divine eagle and the golden-eyed bull, and said coldly, "Wait." Seeing that the metal-devouring demon lion wanted to kill it, the Leafire divine eagle used all its strength to say, "I know where the inner core of a 6th-grade human supreme realm demonic beast is. As long as you let me go, I can tell you where it is." The metal-devouring demon lion originally wanted to kill the Leafire divine eagle. However, after hearing the Leafire divine eagle's words, it couldn't help but frown. A 6th-grade human supreme realm demonic beast's inner core. He was only a peak 2nd-grade human supreme realm demonic beast. If he could get his hands on a 6th-grade human supreme realm demonic beast's inner core and refine it, there was a high chance that he could make a breakthrough to 3rd-grade human supreme realm demonic beast. "Tell me, where is the inner core?" The metal-devouring demon lion growled. "You have to promise to let me go. Otherwise, I won't tell you where the inner core is even if I die," said the Leafire divine eagle. The Leafire divine eagle wasn't a fool. He knew that once he revealed the location of the inner core, he would die a horrible death. After all, the inner core was right in the cave. "It's not up to you to tell me." The metal-devouring demon lion snorted coldly, then opened its mouth and spat out a blue ray of light. Kai! The ray of light was extremely fast, arriving in front of the Leafire divine eagle in the blink of an eye. Since the Leafire divine eagle was already severely injured, it could only stare at the incoming ray of light, unable to block it. Poof! In the next moment, the ray of light suddenly entered the Leafire divine eagle's sea of consciousness under its horrified gaze. Swoosh! After the ray of light entered the sea of consciousness, the Leafire divine eagle stood up. At this moment, the Leafire divine eagle's eyes were dull, like a puppet. Let's go. No matter what, the golden-eyed bull's body was tougher than the Leafire divine eagle's, and its ability to resist attacks was also much stronger. Seeing that the metal-devouring demon lion was specifically dealing with the Leafire divine eagle, the golden-eyed bull decisively turned into a shadow and fled into the distance. "When I recover from my injuries, it will be the time of your death." As the golden-eyed bull ran, it thought viciously. The injuries and humiliation it suffered today must be returned. trying to escape. Although the metal-devouring demon lion's attention was mostly on the Lee-fire divine eagle, it still noticed that the golden-eyed bull wanted to escape. In any situation, letting the enemy escape was a form of humiliation to itself. Therefore, the metal-devouring demon lion's figure flashed and instantly appeared in front of the golden-eyed bull, blocking its path. Originally, I didn't intend to kill you completely, but since you want to escape, I can only send you to hell. Chapter 9:18. Discovered crack. Suppressed by the metal-devouring demon lion's aura, the golden-eyed bull's sturdy body let out a crisp cracking sound. Poochie. Soon, the golden-eyed bull felt a sweetness in its throat and suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. I'll tell you where the core of a 6th-grade human supreme is. The golden-eyed bull didn't want to die. It hurriedly spoke just as it was about to collapse. Me. You don't have to tell me. I naturally have a way to find out from the Lee-flaming divine eagle. The metal-devouring demon lion would never change its mind once it decided on something. It snorted coldly and its aura pressed down again. Crack, crack, crack. Continuous cracking sounds came from the golden-eyed bull's body. Roar, roar, roar. The intense pain from its body made the golden-eyed bull let out a hysterical roar. However, the golden-eyed bull's roar didn't last for long. Rumble. The golden-eyed bull's eyelids twitched and its body fell heavily to the ground. Whoosh. As soon as the golden-eyed bull died, the metal-devouring demon lion came to its side and raised its front claws, directly digging out its core. A 1st-grade human supreme's core. Although there isn't much energy inside, it's better than nothing. The metal-devouring demon lion casually put away the golden-eyed bull's core, then stood in front of the Lee-flaming divine eagle and waved its front claws back and forth in front of the Lee-flaming divine eagle. As the metal-devouring demon lion's claws moved, the Lee-flaming divine eagle's mouth slowly opened. The inner core of a 6th-grade human supreme realm demonic beast is in the cave. As it spoke, the Lee-flaming divine eagle extended its claws and pointed at the nearby cave. In the cave. Hearing the Lee-flaming divine eagle's words and the direction it was pointing at, the metal-devouring demon lion couldn't help but frown. How could it be in the cave? Speak clearly. 2 hours ago, a mid-manifestation realm human brought the core of a 6th-grade human supreme into the mountain. The Lee-flaming divine eagle's eyes were dull as it replied mechanically. Pa. Before the Lee-flaming divine condor could finish his sentence, the metal-devouring demon lion kicked him in the chest, sending him flying several feet away. Whoosh. Then, the gold-devouring demon lion's body flashed and it dashed towards the cave. If one had to describe the metal-devouring demon lion's current mood, it would be F***ked. Other than the treasures he had plundered in his lifetime, there was also a large pond of Xiantian spirit dew. He had prepared so much innate spirit dew for his breakthrough to 3rd-grade supreme martial artist. If it was taken away, he would definitely go crazy. Who? As the metal-devouring demon lion rushed into the depths of the cave, in the deepest part of the cave, Ningyu opened his eyes. He looked at the phantom armor in his hand and slowly exhaled. Mid-grade king rank phantom armor. Ningyu nodded in satisfaction. Originally, Ningyu thought that he should rely on the tender shoots. No, it should be called saplings now. Ningyu thought that by relying on the energy returned by the saplings, he could at most advance the phantom armor to king rank low grade. Who would have thought that the phantom armor would advance to king rank middle grade? The mid-grade king rank phantom armor was terrifying. As long as he wore it, even if Ningyu didn't use the law of space, he could still kill a 2nd-grade supreme martial artist. If he wore the mid-grade king rank phantom armor, coupled with the law of space, Ningyu could even kill a 3rd-grade supreme martial artist. Put it on first. Ningyu was a practical person. With a flick of his wrist, he put on the phantom armor. At the same time, Ningyu looked at the exit of the cave and murmured, Lee-flaming divine eagle, golden-eyed bull, I hope your battle is not over. Not good. However, before Ningyu could finish his sentence, his expression changed drastically and he retreated hastily. Because he realized that there was a huge figure rushing over from the entrance of the cave. In front of this figure, an even faster cold light flashed. Before Ningyu could react, it had already hit Ningyu's chest. Bang! The huge force that came from his chest caused Ningyu to retreat several feet away. He only managed to stabilize his body when he reached the stone wall at the end of the cave. Not bad. Touching the phantom armor that he had just put on, Ningyu felt as if he had taken a trip to the gates of hell. The cold light attack just now was extremely powerful. Even with Ningyu's current strength, it would be difficult for him to block it. Fortunately, he had the phantom armor to help him block it. Otherwise, Ningyu would have most likely been seriously injured. What? When the metal-devouring demon lion saw that its powerful attack had been easily blocked by the Fate Realm human before it, it opened its mouth in disbelief. When did a manifestation realm human become so powerful? Metal-devouring demon lion. Ningyu stared at the huge creature in front of him and scolded, "Why did you sneak up on me? Why did I sneak up on you? This place is F***CK. As the metal-devouring demon lion spoke, it shifted its gaze to the pool. When the primordial spiritual dew in the pool disappeared completely, the metal-devouring demon lion cursed. "This is my cave. You barged in without permission and stole all my primordial spiritual dew." The metal-devouring demon lion released its aura and said coldly, "Hand over the primordial spiritual dew and I can leave your corpse intact." Ningyu was speechless. After all this time, this cave was someone else's cave. However, if the primordial spiritual dew was the metal-devouring demon lion's personal property, Ningyu would not agree with it at all. The primordial spiritual dew was a product of nature. It could only be found by chance. Since when did it become a personal property? If I'm not wrong, the primordial spiritual dew in the pool has been there for a long time. It doesn't belong to you. Ningyu shrugged and said, "Plus, the primordial spiritual dew in the pool has already been consumed by me. Even if you kill me, you won't be able to get it." Chimampate. "If that's the case, I will kill you." The metal-devouring demon lion hissed and charged at Ningyu with all four hooves. F***CK, I'll leave, alright? Though he refused to admit that the primordial spiritual dew was the metal-devouring demon lion's personal property, Ningyu agreed with it on the inside. Because when he jumped into the pool, he realized that there was not only the primordial spiritual dew, but also many other precious medicinal herbs. Without a doubt, the metal-devouring demon lion was the one who threw in those precious medicinal herbs. Because of his guilt, even though Ningyu could have killed the metal-devouring demon lion, he chose not to. Instead, he tore apart space and dashed towards the entrance of the cave at an alarming speed. "Where are you going?" Seeing that Ningyu was trying to escape, the metal-devouring demon lion roared and followed. Whoosh! Whoosh! Inside the cave, two figures, one in front and one behind, were advancing at full speed. The one in front was Ningyu. His speed was very fast, and he disappeared in the blink of an eye. The one behind was the metal-devouring demon lion. He was not slow either, and he followed closely behind Ningyu. The distance between him and Ningyu was getting shorter and shorter. Chapter 919. Chapter 919, Don't Get Cocky Solitaire. Looking back at the approaching metal-devouring lion, Ningyu waved the red demon sword in his hand and slashed out several sword waves. Whoosh! The overwhelming sword waves surged towards the metal-devouring lion. Ningyu did not intend to kill the metal-devouring lion. His goal was to leave this place and find the Dark Emperor. Roar! The metal-devouring demon lion looked up to the sky and roared, scattering the several sword waves that Ningyu had slashed out almost instantly. It's so strong. Ningyu's heart skipped a beat. He felt that he might have underestimated the metal-devouring lion's battle prowess. After all, it was a pinnacle second-grade human supreme. Its strength should not be that low. The difference between demonic beasts and humans was that a second-grade human supreme could even fight against a third-grade human supreme. Let's go. Although the metal-devouring demon lion easily withstood the attacks of the sword waves, there was a short pause in its movements. In this short pause, Ningyu had already left the cave. F***CK. As soon as he left the cave, Ningyu could not help but curse when he saw the massive creature in front of him. The golden-eyed bull. The corpse on the ground was the golden-eyed bull. Beside the golden-eyed bull, The Lee flaming condor was also on its last breath. So the battle was not between the golden-eyed bull and the Lee flaming condor, but between them and the metal-devouring lion. Ningyu immediately understood. When he was cultivating in the depths of the cave, he had always thought that the battle outside the cave was between the golden-eyed bull and the Lee flaming condor. Now, it seemed that the battle was between the metal-devouring lion and the Lee flaming condor. The metal-devouring lion was indeed very strong. It was reasonable for it to be able to kill the golden-eyed bull and heavily injure the Lee flaming condor. "Where do you think you're going?" At this moment, the metal-devouring lion roared and dashed out of the cave. "Metal-devouring lion, don't think that I won't dare to do anything to you." Ningyu held the red demon sword in his hand and said with a cold expression. At this moment, Ningyu knew that it was unrealistic for him to leave. If he could not get rid of the metal-devouring demon lion, even if he ran to the ends of the earth, the metal-devouring demon lion would still chase him. "Humph! Hand over the innate spirit dew, and I'll leave your corpse intact." The metal-devouring demon lion snorted coldly. "I've said it before, the innate spirit dew has already been refined by me, but you didn't believe me." Ningyu said in a deep voice, "Since that's the case, I'll teach you a lesson." As soon as he finished speaking, Ningyu gripped the red demon sword in his hand and charged forward like a bolt of lightning. Ningyu's speed was very fast. He was so fast that he had only taken a few steps when his body fused with the void. Roar! The metal-devouring demon lion wasn't a pushover either. It stomped on the ground, opened its bloody mouth, and roared. Voila! With the metal-devouring demon lion as the epicenter, an extremely terrifying shockwave spread in all directions. The power of the shockwave was indeed terrifying. The surrounding trees were uprooted and the air was scattered. Damn it! As the air scattered, Ningyu appeared in the void. Cursing silently, Ningyu injected the essence in his sea of consciousness into the red demon sword and stabbed it forward. Kai! When the red demon sword came into contact with the shockwave, it constantly emitted a sizzling sound. Although the resistance of the shockwave was strong, Ningyu was still advancing slowly. Roar! 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 Seeing that Ningyu was getting closer, the metal-devouring demon lion roared again. Suppress it! Ningyu's eyes turned cold. He immediately increased the amount of essence he injected and continued to advance slowly. Time was ticking away. The metal-devouring demon lion's expression grew uglier as Ningyu advanced. In the end, the metal-devouring demon lion had no choice but to give up on roaring. Its tail twitched and swept towards Ningyu's head. Chop! After the metal-devouring demon lion gave up on roaring, the pressure on Ningyu disappeared. Without any pressure, Ningyu swung the red demon's sword at the metal-devouring demon lion's tail. Bang! When the two collided, the metal-devouring demon lion felt waves of pain from its tail. Then, its body fell heavily to the ground. Ah! A hysterical roar came from the metal-devouring demon lion's mouth. At the same time, the metal-devouring demon lion's aura plummeted. In just a few seconds, it fell from a peak second-grade human supreme to an early second-grade human supreme. Brat, the one I'm going to tear apart is you. Despite being at a disadvantage in one move, the metal-devouring demon lion did not give up. Instead, it charged forward and used its front claws to strike Ningyu's chest heavily. Facing the charging metal-devouring demon lion, not only did Ningyu not block it, he even slowly closed his eyes. You're courting death. The metal-devouring demon lion naturally saw Ningyu closing his eyes. The metal-devouring demon lion would not give up such a good opportunity. It gathered all the energy in its body into its front claws and slammed them into Ningyu's chest. Bang! A crisp sound rang out. Ha ha ha, brat, I said I'm going to tear you apart, so I will. The metal-devouring demon lion laughed maniacally at the sky. However, the metal-devouring demon lion's maniacal laughter stopped abruptly before it could even finish. Ningyu's eyes suddenly opened, and the corners of his mouth curled up uncontrollably. Puff! The red demon's sword in his hand stabbed out. A dull thud rang out. The metal-devouring demon lion looked down at the red flying sword stuck in its body. Its mouth was agape, and its face was filled with shock. What kind of flying sword is that? How could it stab into my body? The metal-devouring demon lion said. Also, why is your body so hard? Even a grade 2 human supreme would be smashed into pieces by that claw of mine. The metal-devouring demon lion would never have imagined that Ningyu's body was so hard that it only took a few steps back. Comparatively speaking, it was much worse off. Its powerful claw had failed to injure Ningyu, and Ningyu was stabbed by Ningyu's flying sword instead. One after the other, the outcome was obvious. Looks like the King middle grade phantom armor is really awesome. Ningyu did not answer the metal-devouring demon lion's question, but murmured to himself. In fact, the reason why Ningyu did not block the metal-devouring demon lion's attack was that he wanted to test the phantom armor's defense. Although the aura of the gold-devouring demon lion had fallen from the pinnacle second-grade sovereign realm to the initial phase second-grade sovereign realm, Ningyu was still shocked that the king rank middle rank mirage armor could withstand his attacks. If I get more energy in the future, I'll give priority to the phantom armor. Ningyu secretly made up his mind. If he ever found another treasure like the innate spirit dew, he would give priority to the phantom armor. After all, a good defensive artifact could save his life at a critical moment. Metal-devouring demon lion, I've already said that you're not my opponent, but you didn't believe me. Now you've shot yourself in the foot, haven't you? Ningyu said as he kept the red demon sword. Don't be too pleased with yourself. I've just gone through a huge battle, and I've exhausted a lot of my energy. Furthermore, you used a sneak attack on me. Otherwise, I would have cut you into pieces. Chapter 920. Chapter 920, Foolish I'm not proud. I'm just stating a fact. Ningyu shrugged. No matter what, you lost to me. I did lose to you, but it won't be that easy for you to kill me. The metal-devouring lion's face was cold as its aura soared. In a few seconds, the metal-devouring lion's aura soared to its peak. Don't bother with the work. Feeling the powerful aura from the metal-devouring lion, Ningyu waved his hand. You burned your blood essence to increase your strength. Aren't you afraid of repercussions? At this point, Ningyu paused for a moment before he continued. Also, are you an idiot? If I wanted to kill you, you would have died a long time ago. How could you still be alive now? Fart. Hearing Ningyu's words, the metal-devouring lion deflated like a balloon and returned to normal. Kid, what do you want? The metal-devouring lion said coldly. I don't want anything. I just want you to swear to the heavens that you won't mess with me anymore. Ningyu said. That's impossible. The metal-devouring lion would never agree to Ningyu's request. Not mess with Ningyu? What a joke. Ningyu stole a large pool of his primordial spirit dew. He had to get back at him. If that's the case, then don't blame me. Ningyu didn't want to kill the metal-devouring lion. But since the metal-devouring lion didn't know what was good for him, he had to send it to the next world. After all, the metal-devouring lion was extremely powerful. Keeping this ticking time bomb alive would not be peaceful in the future. Wait. Seeing that Ningyu was about to kill it, the metal-devouring lion seemed to have understood and said hurriedly, I promise you. As it spoke, the metal-devouring lion immediately swore to the heavens. Ningyu was slightly stunned by the metal-devouring demon lion's actions. Ningyu did not expect the metal-devouring demon lion to swear the heavenly Tao oath at this moment. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't puzzled. But the metal-devouring demon lion's oath to the heavenly Tao was real. If Ningyu wanted to kill the metal-devouring demon lion now, it would be a little unreasonable. A married girl can't take back what she said, just like the water she's thrown out. Ningyu had no choice but to say, since you've made a heavenly oath, I'll spare your life. With that, Ningyu turned around and left. He didn't want to stay here a moment longer. Lu Wei and the others were still waiting for him at the entrance to the inner regions of the magical beast mountain range. If they were to encounter any danger, Ningyu would definitely blame himself to death. I want to go with you too. Seeing that Ningyu was about to leave, the metal-devouring demon lion rolled its eyes and shouted. The metal-devouring demon lion was no idiot. On the contrary, he was very intelligent. He had sworn the heavenly oath not to tangle with Ningyu, but once Ningyu died, Then he would be able to get his hands on the pre-celestial nectar on Ningyu. The metal-devouring demon lion did not believe that Ningyu would be able to refine an entire pool of pre-celestial nectar. As the metal-devouring demon lion saw it, Ningyu definitely had a container on him that stored all the nectar inside. "You want to come with me as well?" Hearing the metal-devouring demon lion's unreasonable request, Ningyu frowned slightly, then said, "Let's go." "Wait a moment." After receiving Ningyu's confirmation, the metal-devouring demon lion teleported into the cave. Whoosh! 3 minutes later, the metal-devouring demon lion flew out of the cave, satisfied. "Luckily, this kid doesn't know where I hid my treasures. Otherwise, he would have taken everything." The metal-devouring demon lion was a little proud. He had hidden all the treasures he had plundered over the years in one place. That place was hidden from Ningyu. The leaf-flaming condor is now severely injured. How confident are you that you can cure it? Ningyu had just started when he stopped. At its peak, the leaf-flaming condor was a second-grade human supreme and a flying demonic beast. If he could tame the leaf-flaming condor, he would have another helper when he entered the core region of the magical beast mountain range. Cure the leaf-flaming condor? The metal-devouring demon lion was stunned for a moment, then he smiled. The leaf-flaming condor's injuries are not serious. I just controlled it. Actually, the metal-devouring demon lion controlled the leaf-flaming condor to find out where the core of a 6th-grade human supreme was. Now that he knew that the core was in Ningyu's hands, and Ningyu wanted to cure the leaf-flaming condor, he might as well do Ningyu a favor and cure the leaf-flaming condor. Swoosh! In the next moment, the metal-devouring demon lion opened its mouth, and a cold light flew out, directly entering the leaf-flaming condor's sea of consciousness. Boom! A loud sound rang in the leaf-flaming condor's sea of consciousness, and the leaf-flaming condor suddenly opened its eyes. At first, the leaf-flaming condor's eyes were filled with confusion. As time passed, the leaf-flaming condor's consciousness became clearer. Screech! In the end, the leaf-flaming condor could not help but let out a cry. "You!" The leaf-flaming condor stared at Ningyu and said in surprise, "The metal-devouring demon lion did not kill you. Why does the metal-devouring demon lion want to kill me?" Ningyu curled his lips and said, "You have 2 choices in front of you. First, make a heavenly oath and obey me. Second, die." As the word die fell, a terrifying aura emanated from Ningyu's body and suddenly pressed down on the leaf-flaming condor. Boom! The metal-devouring demon lion did not stay idle. He also unleashed his aura and cooperated with Ningyu to press down on the leaf-flaming condor. The leaf-flaming condor could not withstand Ningyu's aura alone, not to mention the addition of the metal-devouring demon lion's aura. Fart! The leaf-flaming condor spat out a mouthful of dark red blood, and its face became very ugly. "I don't have time to tangle with you here," Ningyu said coldly. "All right, I choose to obey." The leaf-flaming condor gritted its teeth and immediately made a heavenly oath. Between life and death, the leaf-flaming condor chose to live without a doubt. Death was not scary. What was scary was dying without knowing why and having a meaningless death. Therefore, the leaf-flaming condor chose to obey. Metal-devouring demon lion, you'll have to bear with it along the way. Treat the leaf-flaming condor and ensure that he can recover to his peak state as soon as possible. After he finished speaking, Ningyu stomped on the ground and his figure flashed out explosively. The leaf-flaming condor was a little dumbfounded. From Ningyu's words, he could basically determine the status of Ningyu and the metal-devouring demon lion. It seemed that the status of the metal-devouring demon lion was much lower than that of Ningyu. "What are you waiting for? Are you looking for a beating?" The metal-devouring demon lion could guess what the leaf-flaming condor was thinking. He snorted and said, "Remember, from now on, the first person you obey is me, and the second is that kid." Whoosh! After teaching the leaf-flaming condor a lesson, the metal-devouring demon lion flashed and chased after Ningyu. The metal-devouring demon lion would not mistreat himself. Ningyu wanted him to treat the leaf-flaming condor? Impossible. This, looking at the back of the metal-devouring demon lion, the leaf-flaming condor was a little confused. Was the metal-devouring demon lion the greatest, or was it Ningyu? Chapter 921. Heartbroken serpent deep within the magical beast mountain range, at the border between the inner area and the forbidden area. Lu Wei paced back and forth as the worry on his face grew heavier. It had been 3 to 4 hours since Ningyu left. Lu Wei was able to calm himself down in the beginning, but as time passed, he grew more and more worried, to the point that he was even slightly dazed. Don't worry, Ningyu will definitely return safely. The Dark Emperor was anxious as he watched Lu Wei's actions. Extreme yin body. If Lu Xuan continued to be so agitated, he might be in unpredictable danger. Dark Emperor, why don't you go take a look? Lu Wei said after a moment of silence. Me? The Dark Emperor pointed at his nose, and then he shook his head and said, that won't do. Ningyu personally told me to stay behind to protect you before he left. If I leave, then he'll skin me alive when he returns. But Lu Wei was still very worried as he clenched his teeth. There are no buts. The Dark Emperor interrupted Lu Wei and said in a deep voice, Ningyu is very strange. Nothing will happen to him. Ha ha ha, Dark Emperor, you know me the best. At this moment, a loud laughter came from afar. Then, a figure streaked across the sky and appeared before Lu Wei and the rest in the blink of an eye. Ningyu. Seeing the familiar figure before them, Lu Wei and the rest were overjoyed. Ningyu, I thought you were killed by the flaming condor and the golden-eyed bull. The Dark Emperor sized up Ningyu for a while before shifting his gaze behind Ningyu and asked doubtfully, where are the flaming condor and the golden-eyed bull? Don't tell me that you killed them all. The Li Flaming Divine Eagle was a peak grade 2 human sovereign, while the golden-eyed bull was a grade 1 human sovereign. Although Ningyu had escaped back, the Dark Emperor did not believe that the Li Fire Divine Eagle and the golden-eyed bull had been killed by Ningyu. From the Dark Emperor's point of view, Ningyu had probably brought them around in a big circle before sneaking back. When did you become so smart? Ningyu looked at the Dark Emperor with interest. He teased, I came back in a hurry this time. Otherwise, I would have definitely brought back the corpse of the golden-eyed bull. Forget it. You're just in blessed realm. Damn it. The Dark Emperor's words were filled with distrust. However, when Ningyu unleashed his aura, the Dark Emperor immediately cursed. Later stage of the blessed realm. The Dark Emperor clearly remembered that Ningyu was only at the middle stage of the creation realm 3 to 4 hours ago. How did he advance to the late stage of the creation realm in 3 to 4 hours? This speed of advancement was too fast, wasn't it? Gulp. In the distance, the Lightning Wolf King and Qin Xiong swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Based on Ningyu's advancement speed, how could they survive? It was possible that they would be entangled with Ningyu for the rest of their lives. Swish. Swish. However, what shocked the Dark Emperor and the rest was yet to come. In the distance, 2 colossal beings suddenly tore through the void and flew over at an extremely shocking speed. Not good. Sensing the berserk aura emitted from the 2 colossal beings, the expressions of the Dark Emperor and the rest changed drastically as they prepared for battle. It's fine, the 2 of them are my friends. Ningyu waved his hand, indicating for the Dark Emperor and the rest to calm down. Your friend. Hearing Ningyu's words, the Dark Emperor and the Lightning Wolf King opened their mouths slightly, their faces filled with disbelief. These 2 colossal beings are actually your friends. Are you sure you're not joking? Let me introduce you. This is the gold-devouring demon lion and this is the Li Fire Divine Eagle. Ningyu introduced. The Li Fire Divine Eagle nodded slightly in response. As for the gold-devouring demon lion, it turned its head away with an extremely arrogant expression. All right, let's continue our journey and try to enter the core area before daybreak. Ningyu had already expected such a reaction from the Dark Emperor and the rest. He walked straight to the barrier and took out the red demon sword and slashed at the barrier. Kai Kai. After advancing to the late stage of the manifestation realm, Ningyu's strength had increased by who knew how many times. The sword he slashed out was extremely powerful and easily created a gap in the barrier. Let's go. Ningyu made a prompt decision and entered the barrier in a flash. Behind Ningyu, Lu Wei and the rest followed closely. Rustle. In the inner region of the magical beast mountain range, several figures were advancing at high speed. Needless to say, These figures were Ningyu and the rest. With the gold-devouring demon lion leading the way, Ningyu and the rest were moving at a high speed without any hesitation. The gold-devouring demon lion was a peak second-grade human supreme. Under the pressure of his powerful aura, all the demonic beasts in the inner region avoided him. In the inner region, both the gold-devouring demon lion and the Lee-fire divine eagle were overlord-level demonic beasts. There might be some hidden powerful demonic beasts in the inner region, but with the two of them working together, they could probably dominate the inner region. Even a third-grade human supreme demonic beast would have to retreat. Passing through this broken intestine lake means entering the core area of the magical beast mountain range. About an hour later, Ningyu and the rest arrived at the entrance of the core area. Between the core area and the inner region, there was not a barrier, but a lake. Is there any danger in the broken intestine lake? Ningyu asked with a frown. He did not choose to cross the broken intestine lake immediately. Of course there is danger. The gold-devouring demon lion rolled its eyes at Ningyu and said, "There is a powerful demonic beast in the broken intestine lake called the broken intestine dragon. It is a peak third-grade human supreme." Hiss. Hearing this, even though Ningyu was prepared, he still gasped at this moment. The cultivation of a third-grade peak human supreme martial artist. Even if all of them worked together, they might not be able to fight against a demonic beast with such a cultivation. "Don't worry," the gold-devouring demon lion said, "the broken intestine dragon has a hobby. As long as we can satisfy it, we will be able to cross the broken intestine lake smoothly." "Hey, can you not just say half of what you are saying?" Ningyu said impatiently. The broken intestine dragon's hobby is very special. It likes to eat humans. The gold-devouring demon lion continued. As long as we throw a martial artist into the broken intestine lake for him to enjoy, he will let us pass through. The broken intestine dragon has this hobby. It wants to eat humans. Ningyu's eyes widened. He felt that his brain was not enough to process this. Logically speaking, no one would pass through this place. How could the broken intestine dragon have this hobby? After some thought, Ningyu said in a deep voice, "Gold-devouring demon lion, don't try to bluff me. Tell me the truth." The gold-devouring demon lion did not answer Ningyu. Instead, it chose to close its eyes to rest. "What are you being so arrogant for?" The Dark Emperor snorted in his mind, a little annoyed by the gold-devouring demon lion's behavior. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure suddenly rushed out from the broken intestine lake. The figure was huge, at least twice the size of the Lee-fire divine condor. The scariest thing was that the gigantic creature was holding a bloody head in its mouth. Chapter 922. Weakness. It's indeed a peak third-grade supreme. Ningyu's expression darkened as he sensed the terrifying aura emitting from the heartbroken serpent dragon. Even if all of them teamed up, they would have a hard time dealing with the heartbroken serpent dragon. Of course, this was under the premise that Ningyu did not utilize the law of space. If Ningyu were to use the law of space, he would probably be on par with the heartbroken serpent dragon. Plop! The heartbroken serpent dragon tossed Yi Ming's head into the lake and spoke in a deep voice. "Offer your sacrifice, a human." Ningyu's expression darkened. Strictly speaking, there were 3 people at the scene: Qin Xiong, Lu Wei, and Ningyu. As for the Dark Emperor and the Lightning Wolf King, they were beasts and not humans. Out of the 3 of them, Ningyu had to choose one of them as a sacrifice. Wasn't that bullsh*t? There's no sacrifice. Ningyu said in a deep voice. No sacrifice? The heartbroken serpent dragon was stunned for a moment, before it spoke in a cold tone. Then what are you waiting for? Get lost. Whoosh. The heartbroken flood dragon was truly worthy of being a pinnacle third-grade sovereign. Even his voice contained a violent shockwave. The Lightning Wolf King and the Dark Emperor were knocked back a few meters by the shockwave. The gold-devouring lion and the fire divine condor were able to stabilize themselves after taking a few steps back due to their strength. Whoosh! Ningyu took a step forward and stood in front of Qin Xiong and Lu Wei, shielding them from the shockwave. Heartbroken serpent dragon, we just want to enter the core area. As for the sacrifice, can we exchange it for something else? The heartbroken serpent dragon's voice caused Ningyu to make some concessions. With the law of space and the Emperor mid-grade phantom armor, Ningyu was not too afraid of the heartbroken serpent dragon. However, the same could not be said for Lu Wei and the others. As long as the intestine breaker flood dragon decided to launch a sneak attack, even Ningyu would not be able to withstand it. Therefore, Ningyu still wanted to resolve this peacefully. The sacrifice can only be humans, nothing else, the intestine-breaking dragon said coldly. Ka. Ningyu clenched his fists tightly, producing cracking sounds. If the gut-breaker flood dragon refused to back down, Ningyu would have to fight it out with him. As for Lu Wei and Qin Xiong, Ningyu decided to let them take refuge in his storage ring. In truth, Ningyu did not want to expose the fact that the storage ring could store people. However, if the intestine breaker dragon refused to budge, Ningyu had no choice but to expose the storage ring. Intestine-severing flood dragon, I remember you saying that there are 2 conditions to cross the intestine-severing lake. First, offer up an offering. Second, take 3 moves from you. At this moment, the metal-devouring demon lion stepped forward and said, Metal-devouring demon lion. The intestine breaker flood dragon's powerful voice resounded. He stared at the metal-devouring demon lion and said in a low voice, You are only a peak second-grade human supreme. Do you want to take 3 moves from me? If that's the case, I'll fulfill your wish. Intestine breaker flood dragon, you may have misunderstood. I do not want to enter the core area of the magical beast mountain range. He wants to go there. Therefore, he is the one who will take 3 moves from you, not me. The metal-devouring demon lion shook his head and pointed at Ningyu. Whoosh. Hearing this, the intestine breaker flood dragon's eyes flashed with ferocity. The intestine breaker flood dragon was very perceptive. He could easily tell that Ningyu was in the late stage of the manifestation realm. He was a peak 3rd grade human supreme, while Ningyu was only in the late stage of the manifestation realm. There was no comparison between the two. To be honest, in his opinion, he didn't even need to use 10% of his strength to kill Ningyu. Brat, you want to take 3 moves from me? Although the intestine breaker flood dragon did not think highly of Ningyu, he was the one who set the conditions for passing through the intestine breaker lake. If I can pass through the intestine breaker lake after taking 3 moves from you, it's not impossible. Ningyu was already prepared to fight the intestine breaker flood dragon. Who would have thought that there would be a twist? Taking 3 moves from the intestine breaker flood dragon was much easier than fighting it to the death. Alright, since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Whoosh. The intestine breaker flood dragon dived into the intestine breaker lake and soared into the sky. The lake water fell from the intestine breaker flood dragon's body, creating ripples on the surface of the lake. Ningyu's eyes turned cold. He stomped on the ground and dashed out. Solitaire. Ningyu knew that the intestine breaker flood dragon was very powerful. He did not wait for his death. Instead, he held the red fiend sword and slashed out a few sword waves. Flood dragon goes to sea. The intestine breaker flood dragon's huge tail whipped at Ningyu. TSK. TSK. The few solitaire in front of Ningyu did not gain any advantage against the intestine breaker flood dragon's tail. Instead, they were shattered in an instant. Bang! In the blink of an eye, the intestine breaker flood dragon's tail landed on Ningyu's chest. A crisp sound was heard. The huge force on his chest made Ningyu's expression change. His body fell straight to the surface of the lake. Plop! The result was not out of the intestine breaker flood dragon's expectation. Ningyu fell into the intestine breaker lake completely. Waves spread out in all directions. Ningyu. Seeing Ningyu fall into the intestine breaker lake, the Dark Emperor and the others' expressions changed. Fear appeared on their faces. He's so useless. Beside him, the gold-devouring demon lion looked terrible. The reason why the gold-devouring demon lion told Ningyu the second condition to pass through the intestine breaker lake was that he wanted Ningyu to be defeated and killed. As long as Ningyu was killed, he could take away the innate spiritual due from Ningyu. However, what happened made the gold-devouring demon lion furious. The Intestine Breaker Lake was the Intestine Breaker Flood Dragon's territory. None of the martial artists killed by the Intestine Breaker Flood Dragon were spared. They were all devoured by it. Initially, the gold-devouring demon lion thought that Ningyu would be able to withstand one move and die from his injuries. Who would have thought that Ningyu would be killed in the first move? Boring. After the Intestine Breaker Flood Dragon killed Ningyu casually, it curled its lips and said in disdain, "I only used 10% of my strength to kill him." Is that so? However, just as the Intestine Breaker Flood Dragon was about to return to the Intestine Breaker Lake, it heard a faint voice. Whoosh. Then, a skinny figure dashed out from the bottom of the Intestine Breaker Lake. What? You're not dead. Seeing the skinny figure floating in the air, the Intestine Breaker Flood Dragon's eyes widened and its face was filled with disbelief. One must know that even though he had only used 10% of his strength, 10% of his strength was more than enough to kill a half-step Supreme Being. Even an ordinary Grade 1 Supreme Realm martial artist might not be able to block it. Why did this martial artist in the later stage of the creation realm in front of him have such great ability to block his attack and not be killed? Dead. Ningyu curled his lips and said, "How could you kill me with 10% of your strength? I entered the bottom of the lake on purpose." Entered on purpose? Oh no. The Intestine Breaker Flood Dragon frowned and sent a portion of its perception into the bottom of the lake. Suddenly, its expression changed. The thing you're looking for is in there. Chapter 923. Chapter 923, Serpent Egg Crack. The heartbroken serpent gritted its teeth when it saw the spatial ring in Ningyu's hand. It was deceived by this human. As the saying goes, it's not that one is too weak, but the enemy is too strong. The heartbroken serpent dragon said coldly, "What do you want to do to return it to me?" "Simple, let us pass through the heartbroken lake." Ningyu shrugged. "Fine, I'll allow you to pass through the heartbroken lake." The heartbroken serpent dragon said fiercely, "Dark Emperor, bring Lu Wei and the others over first." Ningyu turned around and said to the Dark Emperor and the others, "Buzz." However, Ningyu's action of turning around gave the heartbroken serpent dragon an opportunity. The heartbroken serpent dragon tore through space and arrived beside Ningyu in the blink of an eye. Die. The heartbroken serpent dragon used its giant claw to grab at Ningyu's head. Compared to Ningyu, the heartbroken serpent dragon was many times larger. Just a single claw was bigger than Ningyu's entire body. "I knew you would do this." Although Ningyu turned around, he was still paying attention to the heartbroken serpent dragon's movements. Ningyu did not dare to be careless when facing the heartbroken serpent dragon, who was at the pinnacle of the third-grade human sovereign realm. Ningyu would not allow himself to be distracted for even a fraction of a second. Life and death palm. At the crucial moment, Ningyu poured all the energy in his divine sense into his wrist and clashed with the heartbroken serpent dragon's palm. Bang! The two collided. A crisp sound rang out. Then, Ningyu was knocked back dozens of meters like a kite with a broken string. Fart. Ningyu spat out a mouthful of blood and his face turned pale. "Everyone, let's attack together. I don't believe we can't kill him," the Dark Emperor said fiercely when he saw Ningyu's miserable state. "Stop." Ningyu wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and berated the Dark Emperor, saying coldly, "I have something on him, so he doesn't dare to act rashly." "Don't dare to act rashly? He almost killed you," the Dark Emperor said anxiously. The Dark Emperor did not believe that the handle in Ningyu's hands was of any use. Think about it, if Ningyu's weakness was useful, would the intestine-breaking flood dragon still dare to ambush him? The answer was obviously no. "Ningyu, in my opinion, we should attack together. That way, we might have a chance of survival." The Dark Emperor felt that he should wake Ningyu up, so he hurriedly said. However, before the Dark Emperor could finish his words, his eyes widened as he stared at the big guy in Ningyu's hand. Gulp. At this moment, the Dark Emperor finally understood why Ningyu did not let him make a move. The handle in Ningyu's hands was enough to make the intestine-breaking flood dragon hesitate to attack. Intestine-breaking flood dragon, if you want to see me smash it, you can ambush me. Ningyu raised the flood dragon egg with one hand and said calmly, "My hand is injured. I might throw it away at any time." You. The intestine-breaking flood dragon's eyes were fixed on the flood dragon egg in Ningyu's hand, his eyes filled with ferocity. Although the intestine-breaking flood dragon was furious and wanted to attack, he knew that he had lost the best opportunity to do so. Since the sneak attack earlier failed to kill Ningyu, it was unrealistic for him to attack later on. Ningyu must be prepared. Given that, he could only choose to compromise. "I agree to let you pass through the intestine-breaking lake, but you have to return the flood dragon egg to me first." The intestine-breaking flood dragon said coldly. "Hehe, I don't think you understand." Ningyu smiled and said, "We will definitely pass through the intestine-breaking lake. I won't return the flood dragon egg to you first." Return the flood dragon egg to the intestine-breaking flood dragon? Ningyu was not that stupid. He had gone through so much trouble and even burned his blood essence to hide his senses, just to find out what was at the bottom of the lake. His efforts paid off. Ningyu finally found a flood dragon egg at the bottom of the lake. Ningyu knew that as long as he could get his hands on the flood dragon egg, he would definitely be able to pass through the intestine-breaking lake. Therefore, Ningyu showed an opening and entered the intestine-breaking lake to get his hands on the flood dragon egg. "Don't go too far," the intestine-breaking flood dragon said coldly after hearing Ningyu's words. "Forget it if you're unwilling." As he spoke, Ningyu bent his wrist slightly, trying to throw the flood dragon egg away. "Fine, you win. I'll let you guys pass." With Ningyu holding onto its weakness, the intestine-breaking flood dragon had no choice but to compromise. It opened its mouth and spat out a huge water pillar. The water column split the broken intestine lake into two, causing the broken intestine lake to split in the middle, creating a narrow passage. "Let's go." As soon as the passage appeared, Ningyu grabbed Lu Wei's shoulder and dashed to the other side of the intestine-breaking lake at a shocking speed. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Lightning Wolf King, Qin Xiong, and the Dark Emperor followed closely behind Ningyu. Damn it! Seeing Ningyu and the others leaving, the metal-devouring lion could not help but curse. The plan had failed. The intestine-breaking flood dragon's failure to kill Ningyu had probably raised Ningyu's guard. It would be hard to get another chance like this in the future. Although it was angry, the metal-devouring lion would not stay where it was. Its figure flashed and it dashed out. The intestine-breaking lake was not too big. Ningyu and the others only took a minute to reach the other side of the lake, which was the core region of the magical beast mountain range. Buzz buzz. As soon as they stepped into the core region, Ningyu felt a thick wave of essence chi. There were 3 regions in the depths of the magical beast mountain range: the forbidden region, the inner region, and the core region. Among them, the density of essence chi in the forbidden region and the inner region was not even a tenth of that in the core region. Cultivating in the core region could yield twice the results with half the effort. "Return the flood dragon egg to me." At this moment, the intestine-breaking flood dragon's cold voice reached Ningyu's ears. Ningyu did not return the egg to the intestine-breaking flood dragon immediately. Instead, he frowned and murmured, "It seems like the intestine-breaking flood dragon is afraid of something. Don't worry so much. Let's hurry up and leave before the intestine-breaking flood dragon goes berserk." The Dark Emperor did not care what the intestine-breaking flood dragon was afraid of. He wanted to leave as soon as possible. There is a restriction around the intestine-breaking lake. The intestine-breaking flood dragon cannot leave the intestine-breaking lake. The gold-devouring demon lion's voice rang out. Hearing this, Ningyu raised his eyebrows and looked at the gold-devouring demon lion meaningfully. Then, with a flick of his wrist, he threw the flood dragon egg to the intestine-breaking flood dragon. Pa! The intestine-breaking flood dragon swept its tail, stirring up a stream of water and catching the flood dragon egg firmly. Oh, right. A reminder. Originally, Ningyu wanted to leave. However, before he left, he felt that he had to warn the intestine-breaking flood dragon. Under normal circumstances, there is no way to hatch your flood dragon egg. If you want to hatch it, use. Ningyu's last sentence was directed to the intestine-breaking flood dragon. Only the intestine-breaking flood dragon could hear it. "Let's go." With that, Ningyu left without looking back and headed for the depths of the core region. The heartbroken flood dragon's eyes were filled with gratitude as it watched Ningyu's back. I owe you one. Chapter 924. Wind and clouds rustle. The rising sun shone through the dense forest and onto the ground, adding some mysteriousness to the tranquil forest. Let's rest here for a while. The palace should be nearby. In the core region of the magical beast mountain range, several figures slowed down their steps, but they were still highly focused and did not dare to relax. The most dangerous place in the magical beast mountain range was the core region. Even though the metal-devouring lion and fire-divine condor were both pinnacle second-grade sovereign realm demonic beasts, they did not dare to behave atrociously in the core region and could only find a place to rest. The core region of the magical beast mountain range was filled with ferocious beasts, and every single one of them was a top-notch existence. Fortunately, Ningyu's perception was relatively strong, and he was extremely sensitive to ferocious beasts. Within a radius of several miles, as long as there was a demonic beast with a cultivation above second-grade sovereign realm, he would be able to detect it immediately, which saved him a lot of unnecessary trouble. Ningyu, we shouldn't stay here for long. Qin Xiong said, the core region is different from other places. Not only are the demonic beasts powerful, but they also have weird personalities. Even if you don't provoke them, they will come for you. The safest place in the core region is the surroundings of the palace. Demonic beasts below third-grade sovereign realm would not dare to approach there. Holy shit. The Dark Emperor couldn't help cursing. You're saying that the weakest demonic beasts around the palace are at least third-grade sovereign realm? Then wouldn't we be sending ourselves to our deaths? Qin Xiong cast a disdainful glance at the Dark Emperor and continued, there's still an hour before daybreak. In this hour, all the demonic beasts above third-grade sovereign realm will be resting. The Dark Emperor's face turned ugly after being rebuked by Qin Xiong. Alright, let's follow Qin Xiong's words and continue forward. Ningyu did not refute Qin Xiong's suggestion. In fact, he was also curious along the way, as he did not encounter any demonic beasts above second-grade sovereign realm. This didn't make sense in the core region of the magical beast mountain range. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As soon as he said they would leave, Ningyu and the others immediately rose into the air, once more heading towards the depths of the mountain range of magical beasts. The facts proved that what Qin Xiong said was not wrong. About half an hour later, Ningyu and the others finally passed through a dense forest and arrived at the back of a huge mountain. Is that the palace? A look of astonishment flashed across Ningyu's eyes as he stared at the palace that was surrounded by several huge mountains. To tell the truth, Ningyu had been extremely shocked to learn that there were mountains deep within the mountain range of magical beasts. Moreover, there was actually an extremely luxurious palace within the mountains. This caused Ningyu to be even more shocked. Yes, but now is not the right time. Qin Xiong slightly frowned and said, let's find a place to hide first. It's not safe here. Ningyu nodded in agreement after hearing Qin Xiong's words. With Ningyu's soul perception, he could naturally sense that there were several powerful yuan qi fluctuations at the entrance of the palace. Whoosh, whoosh. Just as Ningyu and the others hid, several figures suddenly cut through the void and appeared at the entrance of the palace. Ningyu's gaze swept across and finally landed on a middle-aged man. It was not because Ningyu knew the middle-aged man, but because the middle-aged man was emitting an aura that made him feel fearful. Such a powerful yuan qi fluctuation clearly indicated that he had reached the third-grade mortal supreme realm. Yin Hua. Ningyu's gaze shifted and landed on a cultivator beside the middle-aged man. This cultivator's aura was slightly weaker than the middle-aged man's, and his cultivation was also at the first-grade mortal supreme realm. Ningyu's expression was a little grave. Since Yin Hua was here, then this third-grade mortal supreme realm must be someone from the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. Investigate. We must get to the bottom of this matter. At this moment, Yin Hua seemed to be reporting something to the middle-aged man. Hearing Yin Hua's words, the middle-aged man's expression instantly darkened. Supremacy Yun Tian's death is not to be regretted, but the golden box on him must not be lost. The middle-aged man's expression was extremely cold and gloomy to the extreme. Supremacy Yun Tian was only a peak first-grade mortal supreme realm. His death was not a big loss to the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. However, the golden box on Supremacy Yun Tian was a treasure. The item inside was the key to obtaining the Dharma treasure from the palace, so it must not be lost. Swoosh! At this moment, the rumbling sound of wind breaking suddenly resounded in the distant sky. The moment the sound was heard, Ningyu's heart skipped a beat. He could feel that the yuan qi in this area seemed to be boiling. Evil dragon supremacy. The middle-aged man beside Yin Hua looked at the figure that suddenly appeared and couldn't help but look a little grave. The cold light cut through the void and stirred up the yuan qi of heaven and earth. This aura was unusually frightening. Even the middle-aged man who had reached the third-grade mortal supreme realm could not help but gasp at this moment. Spirit Cauldron Venerable, how have you been? The old man, who was called Evil Dragon Supremacy, laughed as he landed before the palace. It's been a long time. You've actually reached the third-grade mortal supreme realm. Not bad, not bad. Evil Dragon Supremacy, I never expected that your corpse sect would also interfere. Spirit Cauldron Venerable coldly said. What interference? Treasures belong to the virtuous. Could it be that only your Supreme Nine Purities Temple can come, and my corpse sect can't? Evil Dragon Supremacy waved his hand. Ha ha ha, Evil Dragon Supremacy is right. Suddenly, several figures tore through the void and landed in front of everyone. The old man leading them laughed wildly. Treasures belong to the virtuous. We can't let the Supreme Nine Purities Temple monopolize them, right? Blood God Palace, Bloodslayer Venerable. Spirit Cauldron Venerable's expression was ugly. Although he had guessed that the Blood God Palace and Corpse Sect would send someone over, he never expected that the two sects would send someone with such high cultivation. He had just reached the third-grade mortal sovereign realm, while Evil Dragon Supremacy and Bloodslayer Venerable were veteran third-grade mortal sovereigns. Cut the crap. Since everyone's here, let's discuss how to break the palace. Taking a deep breath, Spirit Cauldron Venerable faintly said, You guys should know that we have to gather all 3 keys to break the palace. As he spoke, Spirit Cauldron Venerable flicked his wrist and a golden key suddenly appeared in his hand. What 3 keys and 4 keys? In my opinion, there's nothing special about this door. Why don't we attack together and blast it open? Just when Spirit Cauldron Venerable finished his words, Evil Dragon Supremacy's eerie voice resounded with great confidence. This. Chapter 925. 6-winged sky-soaring Python 4 keys were indeed required to open the palace. However, the palace was extremely unstable, so they might be able to forcefully break it open. All right. Let's work together to break open the gate, the Venerable Spirit Cauldron said after a brief pondering. The reason why the Venerable Spirit Cauldron didn't want to use the keys to open the gate was because the keys had many other uses. For example, opening the doors of the palace, breaking some arrays, etc. Among the 3 forces, the Venerable Spirit Cauldron's side was the weakest, so he had to think of a way out. What are you waiting for? The Venerable Evil Dragon coldly snorted as he stomped on the ground and clenched his right hand into a fist. His figure turned into an afterimage as a massive fist light was formed and he flew out. Boom! The fist radiance swept through the air, bringing with it a series of low explosive sounds in the air, its aura abnormally terrifying. Whoosh! Since the Venerable Evil Dragon had already made his move, the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and Venerable Bloodslayer did not remain idle. They clenched their teeth and formed seals. In the next moment, 2 violent energy fluctuations were formed and shot towards the gate of the palace. The gate is about to be broken open. In mid-air, the 3 violent attacks collided with each other. Under Ningyu's gaze, they heavily bombarded the palace's door. However, as soon as the 3 violent attacks landed on the door, something strange happened. Crack! The door of the palace suddenly shattered, and a terrifying pillar of light soared into the sky, easily dispelling the 3 violent attacks. Seeing this, the faces of the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the rest drastically changed. Roar! In the next moment, an earth-shattering roar resounded from the palace, mixed with desolation and irritation. Not good, it's a 4th grade sovereign realm demonic beast. Hearing that voice, the faces of the venerable spirit cauldron and the rest turned dark and they immediately retreated without any hesitation. Actually, it was no wonder that the venerable spirit cauldron and the rest were fleeing. A 4th grade sovereign realm demonic beast was something that the three of them might not be able to deal with even if they joined hands. Not to mention that they couldn't deal with it, even if they could, they wouldn't foolishly stay behind. After all, they were here to search for treasures, not to fight with demonic beasts. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Not only did the three venerable spirit cauldron escape, the cultivators that they brought along also immediately executed their trump cards and fled. Voila! The shockwave brought about by the roar was especially strong. With the palace as the center, all the trees within a radius of several miles were uprooted. Buzz! However, the roar left as quickly as it came. In just a dozen or so seconds, it completely disappeared from the world. After another hour or so, the Venerable One and the others carefully returned to the main entrance of the palace. This 4th grade human supreme realm demonic beast should be trapped. The Venerable Evil Dragon frowned as he slightly released his perception. I agree. Venerable Blood Destruction nodded his head and added, if I'm not mistaken, this 4th grade human sovereign realm demonic beast was trapped by the creator of the palace. What should we do? Venerable Spirit Cauldron frowned slightly and said, You're like a girl. What else can you do? Now that the palace gate has been opened, do you still want to stay here and be afraid? The Venerable Evil Dragon looked fearless as he spoke in disdain. Thereafter, his figure flashed and he was the first to charge into the palace. Venerable Spirit Cauldron and Venerable Blood Destruction fixed their eyes on the Venerable Evil Dragon. They wanted to see if the Venerable Evil Dragon would be in danger. Boom! Roughly 3 seconds later, the Venerable Evil Dragon had just charged into the palace when he was blasted out by a powerful force. Fart! The Venerable Evil Dragon fell heavily on the ground and spewed a mouthful of blood with his face turning extremely dark. Boom! 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 Before the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the rest could be shocked, a few heavy footsteps resounded from the palace. Not long after, a colossal figure appeared in everyone's sight. Hiss! Looking at the colossal figure at the entrance of the palace, the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the rest sucked in a cold breath. 6-winged sky-soaring python. Amongst the 8th grade demonic beasts, the 6-winged sky-soaring python had already surpassed the initial 8th grade and reached the middle 8th grade. The ranks of demonic beasts corresponded to the cultivation of humans. Initial 8th grade demonic beasts corresponded to 1st grade to 3rd grade human sovereigns. Middle 8th grade demonic beasts corresponded to 4th grade to 6th grade human sovereigns. Late 8th grade demonic beasts corresponded to 7th grade to 9th grade human sovereigns. A middle 8th grade 6-winged sky-soaring python's strength had reached pinnacle 4th grade human sovereigns. Even its comprehensive battle prowess was comparable to a 5th grade human sovereign. The Beast King Palace is not to be trespassed by unauthorized personnel. A majestic voice came from the mouth of the 6-winged sky-soaring python, filled with killing intent. 6-winged sky-soaring python, since you did not kill all of us immediately, it means that there must be a way to enter the Beast King Palace. Clearly, the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the rest came prepared. They had already investigated all possibilities before coming. Hearing that, the 6-winged sky-soaring python's gaze shifted and locked onto the Venerable Spirit Cauldron. The Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the 6-winged sky-soaring python looked at each other. After a long while, the 6-winged sky-soaring python said in a deep voice, You're right. There is indeed a way to enter the Beast King Palace. Take a move from me. Initially, the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the rest felt relieved when they heard the 6-winged sky-soaring python's words. But when they heard the 6-winged sky-soaring python's words, their faces turned ugly to the extreme. Take a move from you? What a joke. You're a middle 8th grade demonic beast. Who here can take a move from you? There's another way. Perhaps it had guessed what the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the rest were thinking. The 6-winged sky-soaring python waved its hand and a crack appeared on the ground. Crack. Not long after, an ancient battle stage slowly rose from the ground. Rustle. The moment the ancient battle stage appeared, several silhouettes tore through the void and appeared on the stage. If you want to enter the palace, you must go up and defeat these puppets. The six-winged sky-soaring python pointed at the silhouettes on the ancient battle stage and said, "Holy shit!" When the Dark Emperor saw the puppets on the ancient battle stage, he couldn't help cursing. This is called a puppet. Holy shit, isn't this too exaggerated? This is clearly the little six-winged sky-soaring python. The Dark Emperor felt that his brain was a little insufficient. What is the six-winged sky-soaring python trying to do? Ningyu frowned. Honestly speaking, he had no idea what the six-winged sky-soaring python was trying to do. The strength of the little six-winged sky-soaring python on the ancient battle stage was at most equivalent to a half-step honorable. Who could the six-winged sky-soaring python stop? Let alone a powerful martial artist like the Venerable Spirit Cauldron, even Yin Hua and the rest could easily defeat it. The six-winged sky-soaring python was clearly pushing the little sky-soaring pythons into a pit of fire. Look, someone's going up. At this moment, the Dark Emperor pointed at the ancient battle stage and exclaimed. Chapter 926. Chaotic Battle Rustle. Beside Yin Hua, a late-phase manifestation realm cultivator stepped on the ground and instantly flew onto the battle stage. He was ranked in the top 50 of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple's Genius ranking, Zhen Qiong of the late-phase manifestation realm. Zhen Qiong wasn't the strongest in the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, but he was the most courageous. You bunch of six-winged flying pythons, how can you? Zhen Qiong coldly snorted as he flew onto the battle stage. However, before Zhen Qiong could finish his arrogant words, his expression changed drastically and he immediately retreated backwards. Boom! A crisp sound rang out as Zhen Qiong crashed into the transparent barrier at the edge of the battle stage. Whoosh! 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 Shortly after, several figures flew out and devoured Zhen Qiong in the blink of an eye. What? Below the battle stage, Yin Hua and the rest had a drastic change in their faces when they saw Zhen Qiong's miserable state. Although Zhen Qiong's cultivation was only in the late-phase manifestation realm, his fighting strength was extremely powerful. How did he turn into nothingness before he could even withstand a single move? Rustle. Zhen Qiong was so easily killed and devoured, leaving a shadow in the hearts of many cultivators. Devour. Ningyu's face turned ugly when he saw what happened on the battle stage from afar. Ningyu had some understanding of Zhen Qiong's strength. After all, he had fought with the Dark Emperor before. Even a powerful cultivator like Zhen Qiong was killed in a single move. Thus, one could tell how many people could pass the test. Furthermore, what shocked Ningyu the most was that only a lesser six-winged flying python made a move. There were a total of 6 lesser flying pythons on the battle stage. If all 6 lesser flying pythons made a move, even a first-grade sovereign would be instantly killed. Gulp. The Dark Emperor swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said, "Ningyu, what should we do? What else can we do? Let's wait and see." After pondering for a brief moment, Ningyu said, "Since the 6-winged sky-soaring pythons have set the rules, that means that there must be a way to break it. Don't forget that the Spirit Cauldron Venerable and the rest are all third-grade sovereigns. If they were to step up, they would probably be able to instantly turn the 6 six-winged sky-soaring pythons into dregs." Nodding his head, the Dark Emperor said, "That's true. The strength of a third-grade sovereign is indeed terrifying." Whoosh! At that moment, the Venerable Spirit Cauldron stepped on the ground and rushed out. Judging from the situation, Venerable Spirit Cauldron was going to take action personally. Humph! You want to get involved in a fight between juniors? Before the Venerable Spirit Cauldron could rush onto the platform, the 6-winged sky-soaring python snorted coldly and said in a deep voice, "Your opponent is me, Hua." The Venerable Spirit Cauldron originally wanted to end the battle quickly, but when he heard that 6-winged Ascendant Sage was busy, he had no choice but to change his strategy and instantly stopped in mid-air. "6-winged sky-soaring python, you're clearly doing this to prevent us from entering the Beast King's palace." The Venerable Spirit Cauldron's face was unsightly. If they couldn't enter the Beast King's palace, then it would be a great loss for the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. To obtain the treasures in the Beast King's palace, the Supreme Nine Purities Temple had paid a great price. Don't be so stubborn. I've given you guys a chance. Defeat me and enter the Beast King's palace. Otherwise, get lost. The six-winged sky-soaring python sneered. Don't be too pleased. The evil dragon sovereign took a step forth and said, Six-winged sky-soaring python, we admit that you're powerful, but we're not to be trifled with. That's right. The three of us are third-grade sovereigns. Although we can't kill you, we can still hold you back for a few minutes. Venerable Blood Destruction's face revealed a ferocious expression as he continued, Once we hold you back, the cultivators that we've brought will be able to annihilate these lesser six-winged sky-soaring python. Venerable Blood Destruction pointed at the 6 lesser sky-soaring pythons on the platform. Threaten me. The six-winged sky-soaring python emitted its aura and violently pressured towards Venerable Blood Destruction and the rest. Join hands. Although Venerable Blood Destruction and the Spirit Cauldron Venerable were enemies, they had put aside their former enmity and joined hands in the face of life and death. Boom. Venerable Blood Destruction and the rest instantly clashed with the six-winged sky-soaring python. 3 third-grade sovereigns against a mid-phase 8th-grade six-winged sky-soaring python. Initially, there wasn't any suspense in this battle. No one knew what was going on, but the two sides were actually evenly matched, with no one gaining any advantage. Ningyu, this six-winged sky-soaring python seems to be injured. The Dark Emperor had been paying attention to what was happening before the Beast King's palace. Seeing that the Spirit Cauldron Venerable and the rest were actually evenly matched with the six-winged sky-soaring python, the Dark Emperor felt that it was a little unbelievable. He's indeed injured, and it's not a light injury either. At this moment, Ningyu took the opportunity when the six-winged sky-soaring python wasn't paying attention and started to examine it. But when he looked, Ningyu was shocked. In his previous life, Ningyu also had some understanding of demonic beasts. For a mid-phase 8th-grade demonic beast like the six-winged sky-soaring python, unless it was a fatal injury, there wouldn't be such a huge drop in its fighting strength. From the battle, Ningyu could tell that the six-winged sky-soaring python's fighting strength had dropped by at least half, if not more. Look, Yinhua and the rest have also made their move. Suddenly, the Lightning Wolf King pointed at Yinhua and the rest. Rustle. 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 Before the Beast King's palace, a group of people led by Yinhua began to launch powerful attacks against the lesser sky-soaring pythons on the stage. Fart. 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 The combat power of the lesser flying pythons was still very terrifying. Some warriors whose cultivation was lower than the later stage of the creation realm were killed the moment they fought with them. Whoosh. Amongst the crowd, there were only 3 cultivators that could confront the 6-winged sky-soaring pythons head-on. On the side of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, Yinhua's fighting strength was naturally the strongest, and he was on par with a lesser sky-soaring python. On the side of the Blood God Palace, a long-haired young man's fighting strength was especially terrifying. He fought against 2 lesser sky-soaring pythons without being at a disadvantage. On the side of the Corpse Yin sect, a short-haired man blocked a lesser sky-soaring python. 3 powerful geniuses fought against 4 lesser sky-soaring pythons. The rest of the cultivators dealt with the remaining 2 lesser sky-soaring pythons. The situation on the 2 battlefields was very similar. The balance of the battle was very even, and there was no sign of tilting towards one side. Obviously, at this time, if a new force joined the battle, this balance could be broken in an instant. Ha ha ha. Speak of the devil, and he will appear. The battle only lasted for 3 minutes before it was interrupted by a burst of wild laughter. Rustle. Immediately, several sounds of wind breaking were heard. Then, the crowd saw several cultivators tearing the void and appearing in front of the Beast King's palace. There were a total of 5 people. 3 men and 2 women. The 2 women's cultivation was not low, and they were both first-grade human supreme. However, one was at the early first-grade human supreme, and the other was at the peak first-grade human supreme. Among the 3 men, 2 were at the peak manifestation realm, and 1 was at the first-grade human supreme. Ningyu knew all of these cultivators. They all came from the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion. Chapter 927. Inexplicable participation. Friend, hurry up and kill these six-winged sky-soaring pythons. Seeing Zhu Zhan and the others appear, the evil dragon sovereign was overjoyed. Now that both sides were evenly matched, whichever side had more reinforcements would win. And the strength of Zhu Zhan and the others could undoubtedly change the battle situation. Kill the sky-soaring pythons? Zhu Zhan was not an idiot. No matter what, he was the saint son of the 9 Furnace Divine Pavilion's first branch. His intelligence was not too low. He did not reply to the evil dragon sovereign's words but carefully observed. Mid-rank 8-winged sky-soaring python. The little sky-soaring python's strength was limited, so Zhu Zhan did not pay attention to it. His gaze fell on the 6-winged sky-soaring python. It seems to be injured. Zhu Zhan's perception was also very strong. He easily determined that the 6-winged sky-soaring python was injured. After all, a mid-rank 8-winged sky-soaring python's strength could not be so weak. What are you waiting for? If you want to enter the Beast King Palace, you must kill all these monsters. Seeing Zhu Zhan hesitate, the evil dragon sovereign angrily said, otherwise, no one will be able to enter the Beast King Palace. I'm not a fool. Zhu Zhan curled his lips and then said to the 2-peak manifestation realm martial artists beside him, you two enter the Beast King Palace first, I'll be right behind you. Hearing Zhu Zhan's words, the 2-peak manifestation realm martial artists' mouths fell open, their bodies wavering. If they wanted to enter the Beast King Palace, they had to pass through the battlefield. With their peak manifestation realm cultivation, passing through such a terrifying battlefield was no different from courting death. Humph! You don't even listen to me. Zhu Zhan's expression instantly turned cold. The 9 Furnace Divine Pavilion's punishment can, Shua. When Zhu Zhan said the word punishment, the 2-peak manifestation realm martial artists' mouths twitched. They immediately rose from the ground, bracing themselves as they rushed out. Zhu Zhan, aren't you sending them to their deaths? Beside him, Yunmu frowned. Although the 9 Furnace Divine Pavilion's first branch is very powerful, they will be finished sooner or later. Finished sooner or later? Are you sure you're not kidding me? Zhu Zhan shrugged his shoulders. He disdainfully said, let's not talk about whether or not the two of them will die. Even if we take 10,000 steps back, even if they die, it won't have any effect on the 9 Furnace Divine Pavilion's first branch. As long as I obtain the Beast King's treasure, I can unify the 9 Furnace Divine Pavilion. At that time, Poochie. Before Zhu Zhan could finish his sentence, 2 clear voices entered his ears. What? Zhu Zhan turned to look. Zhu Zhan's face darkened as he looked at the 2 martial artists at the peak of the manifestation realm who had been killed before they could even reach the Beast King's palace. Your friend was killed by the 6-winged sky python. If you want revenge, you should look for it. At this moment, the evil dragon Venerable's voice rang out. Zhu Zhan's fists were clenched so tightly that cracking sounds could be heard. The coldness on his face was especially obvious. 6-winged sky-soaring python, I didn't provoke you, but you came to provoke me. Zhu Zhan took a deep breath, rose from the ground and charged into the battlefield. The evil dragon Venerable and the others could not help but curse when they saw the direction Zhu Zhan was charging in. Zhu Zhan was too smart, wasn't he? The battlefield he joined was not their side, but the lesser flying pythons. With Zhu Zhan's participation, the balance of the lesser flying pythons was broken. Soon, one of the lesser flying pythons was severely injured. Aunt Yun, should we make a move? Yunmu frowned as he looked at Zhu Zhan galloping in the battlefield. There's no need. Aunt Yun shook her head and said, we'll just watch the tigers fight and preserve our strength for now. Rumble. At this moment, Zhu Zhan seized the opportunity and killed a lesser flying python in one blow. Roar. Although the 6-winged sky-soaring python was fighting with the evil dragon Venerable and the others, he was furious when a lesser flying python was killed. However, despite being furious, there was nothing the 6-winged sky-soaring python could do. The evil dragon Venerable, the spirit cauldron Venerable, and the bloodslayer Venerable. The pressure from these 3 powerful martial artists made it hard for him to breathe. It's over. This time, the six-winged sky-soaring python race will be finished. Behind the mountain, the Dark Emperor shook his head in pity. After all, the six-winged sky-soaring python was a demonic beast just like him. Now that it was surrounded by the Yin Corpse sect, the Blood God Palace, and the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, the Dark Emperor was naturally furious. As the saying goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. If it wasn't for the fear of the Blood God Palace, the Dark Emperor would have already made a move. It's not that simple. Ningyu saw things more clearly than the Dark Emperor. No matter what, the six-winged sky-soaring python was a mid-8th rank demonic beast. It wouldn't be killed so easily. Once a demonic beast reached the mid-8th rank, its strength would increase qualitatively. Although the evil dragon Venerable and the others were third-grade sovereign, it was harder than ascending the heavens for them to kill a six-winged sky-soaring python. Ningyu, what should we do? Should we continue to wait? The Dark Emperor asked hesitantly. Wait. Don't be anxious. If we go down now, we'll only become live targets. Ningyu shook his head and said. Hearing Ningyu's words, not only was the Dark Emperor a little disappointed, even the Lightning Wolf King and the metal-devouring Demon Lion revealed disappointed expressions. Attack. However, the Dark Emperor and the Lightning Wolf King's disappointment did not last for long. They saw Ningyu stomping on the ground and charging out like a bolt of lightning. What's going on? Seeing Ningyu make a move, the Dark Emperor opened his mouth slightly in disbelief. Did the sun rise from the west? Why did Ningyu make a move without any warning? In the past, it was impossible for Ningyu to get involved in such matters. What should we do? The Dark Emperor and the Lightning Wolf King looked at each other and could see the shock in each other's eyes. What else can we do? Attack with all your might and help the six-winged sky-soaring python. Just as the Dark Emperor and the Lightning Wolf King spoke, Ningyu's voice sounded in their ears. Forget it, let's go. The Dark Emperor and the Lightning Wolf King gritted their teeth and rushed out, charging towards the Beast King Palace. The metal-devouring Demon Lion hesitated for a moment, then followed closely behind. As for the Li Fire Divine Eagle and Qin Xiong, they stayed where they were, in charge of protecting Lu Wei. Ha ha ha, little flying python is just too weak. I haven't even used my strength and I've already killed one. In front of the Beast King Palace, on the battlefield, Zhu Jun raised his head and laughed maniacally. Zhu Jun, how have you been? However, just as Zhu Jun was about to laugh, he suddenly stopped, and his expression changed greatly. Without any time to think, Zhu Jun immediately retreated, barely dodging a fatal attack. Who is it? Turning around, Zhu Jun looked at the figures that appeared in front of him, and his expression instantly turned gloomy. Ningyu. Zhu Jun clenched his fists tightly as the coldness on his face grew more obvious. Metal-devouring Demon Lion, you're a pinnacle second-grade sovereign. Go over there and help the six-winged sky-soaring python. Leave these small fries to me and the Dark Emperor. Ningyu waved his hand, signaling the metal-devouring Demon Lion to help the six-winged sky-soaring python. Chapter 928. Double. Ningyu, everyone is working together to deal with the six-winged sky-soaring python, yet you're doing the opposite. What exactly are your intentions? Zhu Jun didn't care about the fate of the Spirit Cauldron Venerable and the others. At this moment, he stared fixedly at Ningyu and said coldly, "It's not a wise choice to go against everyone at this moment. I advise you to be smarter and deal with the six-winged sky-soaring python with us." Did the sun rise from the west today? Ningyu raised his head to look at the horizon and said in a puzzled tone, "Based on your character, you should take the initiative to attack me and absolutely not reason with me. As the saying goes, there's definitely something wrong when something unusual happens. You're definitely preparing some ultimate move by doing this." Ha ha ha. Zhu Jun roared with laughter, and then his expression turned cold as he said, "You're smart. I'm indeed preparing a ultimate move that can instantly kill you. Oh. Looks like I'll have to experience it today." Ningyu raised his brows as he stomped on the ground and instantly charged out. Hiss. Hiss. The red fiend sword appeared in his hand, and a violent fluctuation of origin energy appeared on it as it slashed fiercely at Zhu Jun. Bring it on. Zhu Zhan sneered as he gazed at the flying sword that was approaching him, and then he directly withdrew a scroll from his pocket and threw it into the air. Open! Along with Zhu Zhan's low shout, the scroll suddenly exploded. After the scroll exploded, a huge golden net descended from midair and directly covered Ning Yu. Swoosh! The red fiend sword in Ning Yu's hand slashed repeatedly with the intention of slashing open the golden net. However, the defense of the golden net was extremely strong. Even though the red fiend sword had reached the monarch rank, it was unable to slash open it in a short period of time. Ning Yu, this net of mine is called the Skyblotting Net, and it's a top-grade king rank magic treasure. Although your flying sword is a monarch rank flying sword, it's even more difficult than ascending the heavens to break it open. Zhu Zhan sneered. I'll have to trouble you for a while. I'll play with you after I kill those two demonic beasts. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhu Zhan's figure shot out explosively. His target was the Dark Emperor and the Lightning Wolf King. Aunt Yun, who should we help? Yun Mu furrowed his brows and asked. Although Yun Mu was the Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion's first branch saintess and was on the same side as Zhu Zhan on the surface, Yun Mu didn't want to step forward to help Zhu Zhan. On the contrary, Yun Mu wanted Zhu Zhan to be killed. Only when Zhu Zhan was killed would she be able to completely shake off this huge trouble. However, Yun Mu was very clear that with Zhu Zhan's strength, it would be extremely difficult for Ning Yu to kill him. No one has shown signs of weakness, so we won't help anyone. The talisman martial supremacy saw through it. Unlike Yun Mu, supremacy talisman martial had always believed that Ning Yu was very powerful. Ning Yu was able to break his embryonic domain when he was in the middle stage of the creation realm. Now that he had advanced to the late stage of the creation realm, his strength must have improved. Under this premise, Zhu Zhan wouldn't necessarily be able to kill him. Aunt Yun, the heaven-shrouding net is a top-grade kingstep magic treasure. Ning Yu shouldn't be able to break it, right? Yun Mu frowned. A top-grade kingstep magic treasure. Even she wouldn't be able to break it in a short period of time, much less Ning Yu who was only at the late stage of the creation realm. Crack. At this time, an ear-piercing sound rang out. Yun Mu's mouth was slightly agape. She looked at the thin figure in the middle of the heaven-shrouding net, her face filled with shock. Gulp. Yun Mu swallowed a mouthful of saliva. She didn't dare to believe that Ning Yu could actually break the heaven-shrouding net in such a short period of time. It had to be known that this was the heaven-shrouding net, a top-grade kingstep magic treasure. Impossible. Besides Yun Mu's shock, the talisman martial supremacy also revealed a look of disbelief. In truth, it was no wonder that the talisman martial supremacy was shocked. A long time ago, Zhu Zhan had used the heaven-shrouding net to trap two first-grade human supremacies. How long had it been? Ning Yu actually broke the heaven-shrouding net. Fart. Fart. Just as Ning Yu broke the heaven-shrouding net, two sounds of blood spurting came from the other side. Bang. Bang. What followed was the sound of two bodies crashing into the wall. Ha ha ha, two useless demonic beasts dare to fight with me? Simply seeking death. After casually defeating the Dark Emperor and the Lightning Wolf King, Zhu Zhan raised his head and laughed maniacally. But Zhu Zhan's maniacal laughter stopped abruptly in the middle of his sentence. His face was filled with a dumbfounded expression. Why you broke my heaven-shrouding net? Zhu Zhan pointed at Ning Yu in front of him. He even stuttered a little when he spoke. The heaven-shrouding net was a top-grade kingstep magic treasure. How could Ning Yu be so powerful? Zhu Zhan was very shocked, and this shock was also shown on his face. Ning Yu did not answer Zhu Zhan. He snorted coldly and immediately rushed out with the red fiend sword in his hand. On the other side of the battlefield, with the addition of the metal-devouring demon lion, the pressure on the six-winged flying python was getting lighter. Originally, the six-winged flying python and the spirit cauldron venerable were evenly matched. Now that the six-winged flying python had a new force, it was obvious that the pressure on the spirit cauldron venerable was getting greater. The scales of victory were already tilting towards the six-winged flying python. Ning Yu, don't be too proud. The heaven-shrouding net is just one of my many magic treasures. I have many of them. Seeing that Ning Yu was rushing towards him, Zhu Zhan was not afraid. Instead, he sneered and took out a green flying sword. Green steel sword. A top-grade king-step flying sword was extremely powerful. Strictly speaking, if the cultivation of the martial artist who refined the flying sword was not too low, the green steel sword would not be just a top-grade king-step flying sword. Ding! The red fiend sword and the green steel sword separated. The pain from the webbing between the thumb and the index finger caused Ning Yu and Zhu Zhan to retreat several tens of meters away. Poof! Just when Ning Yu and Zhu Zhan were about to fight again, a sudden change occurred. On the other side of the battlefield, Yin Hua seized the opportunity to stab his sword into the neck of a lesser flying python and killed it on the spot. Roar! The death of this lesser flying python caused the six-winged flying python to be completely enraged. After roaring towards the sky, the six-winged flying python's attacks became sharper and sharper. The six-winged flying python's battle intent was overflowing, but it made the spirit cauldron venerable and the others suffer. They were already at a disadvantage, and now that the six-winged flying python went berserk, they naturally felt very uncomfortable. Human, I swear in the name of the flying python's ancestor that as long as you can save 4 lesser flying pythons, I'll double the benefits I promised you. Ning Yu held the red fiend sword in his hand and stared straight at Zhu Zhan. Right at this moment, the voice of the six-winged flying python entered Ning Yu's ears. Double the benefits. When he heard this, Ning Yu was first stunned before he nodded lightly at the six-winged flying python. The reason Ning Yu came out to help the six-winged flying python was because the benefits it promised him were too great, and it was so great that he could not refuse it. Chapter 929. Clues. Haha, it's not good to be distracted now. The corners of Zhu Zhan's mouth curled up when he saw Ning Yu was stunned, and then he soared into the sky and charged towards Ning Yu at an extremely shocking speed. Hiss! Hiss! Zhu Zhan's speed was extremely swift, and it was swift to the point he emitted hissing sounds from the friction with the air. Solitaire. Even though Ning Yu's attention was on the six-winged sky-soaring python, he was prepared for Zhu Zhan's surprise attack. With a flick of his wrist, Ning Yu slashed out numerous sword waves in succession. Swish! The sword waves covered the heavens and the earth as they blasted towards Zhu Zhan. Child's play. Zhu Zhan didn't take Ning Yu's solitaire seriously at all. He swung the azure steel sword in his hand, and numerous sword lights that weren't inferior to solitaire flew out and collided with solitaire. Bang! The two collided. A shocking rumble resounded, and then the sword waves and sword lights dispersed. After the sword waves and sword lights dispersed, Zhu Zhan had already arrived before Ning Yu, and he slashed fiercely towards Ning Yu's neck. The might of Zhu Zhan's attack was enormous, and if Ning Yu was unfortunate enough to be struck by it, then he would definitely die on the spot. The might of the top-grade king rank azure steel sword wasn't for show. Kid, keep your eyes open in your next life. There are some people you can offend and some you can't. Zhu Zhan couldn't help but laugh when he saw the flying sword was about to strike Ning Yu's neck. Crack! In the next moment, a clear and melodious sound resounded. Ha ha ha! Zhu Zhan roared with laughter when he saw Ning Yu's head being separated from his body. What? The Dark Emperor and Lightning Wolf King's expressions changed drastically when they saw Ning Yu's miserable state, and their eyes revealed terror. Others might not know how strong Ning Yu was, but the Dark Emperor and Lightning Wolf King knew it very well. So long as Ning Yu wasn't willing, then even 2 Zhu Zhans wouldn't be able to kill him. Could it be that he was too careless? Or could it be that someone was playing tricks in the dark? Aunt Yun, this. On the other side, Yun Mu's mouth was slightly agape. His eyes were also filled with disbelief. Like the Dark Emperor and the others, Yun Mu didn't believe that Ning Yu was killed. However, the truth was right in front of him. Yun Mu had to believe it. It's not that simple. After all, Talisman Supremacy was a martial artist who had cultivated an embryonic domain, so she could see further. When Zhu Zhan drew his sword just now, her eyes were fixed on Ning Yu, and she noticed a small movement from Ning Yu. At the critical moment of life and death, the corners of Ning Yu's mouth raised unnaturally. It was this arc that allowed the Talisman Supremacy to conclude that Ning Yu was definitely not killed. Zhu Zhan was so complacent and careless that he would definitely suffer. I know there are some people I can provoke and some people I can't. Zhu Zhan's maniacal laughter had just ended when an indifferent voice rang out from the void. Then, a figure slowly appeared in Zhu Zhan's vision. This is impossible. Looking at the familiar figure in front of him, Zhu Zhan's eyes widened in shock. Ning Yu was already killed, and his corpse was laid out over there. Now that he had come back to life, how could Zhu Zhan not be shocked? Zhu Zhan pointed at the Ning Yu on the ground and said, "Didn't you already die?" F***ck. Before Zhu Zhan could finish his sentence, he was stunned on the spot and cursed. This was because Zhu Zhan discovered that the corpse on the ground was not Ning Yu, but the 9-cauldron divine pavilion genius that came with him. "Sorry, I killed your friend when you weren't paying attention." Ning Yu shrugged and his voice rang out at the right time. "The worst thing you did in this life was to go against me." As he spoke, Ning Yu rose from the ground and rushed out. However, this time, the direction that Ning Yu rushed out was not towards Zhu Zhan, but towards the little flying python. Since he had promised the 6-winged flying python, Ning Yu would not go back on his word. Helping the 6-winged flying python and saving the 4 little 6-winged flying pythons was the most important thing. It was even more important than killing Zhu Zhan. After all, whether or not he could obtain any benefits from the Beast King's palace depended on this. Damn it! Zhu Zhan clenched his fists and his expression became increasingly ruthless. He had suffered a double loss, trying to steal a chicken but losing the rice used to lure it. Not only did he not kill Ning Yu, but he had also stirred up trouble and killed his friend. Bang! While Zhu Zhan was still upset, Ning Yu had already joined the battlefield. With Ning Yu joining the fray, the little flying python was immediately energized. Even its combat strength seemed to increase. After blasting out dozens of sword waves, Ning Yu forced Yin Hua and the others away and protected the 4 little flying pythons behind him. Shua Shua. The Lightning Wolf King and Dark Emperor also stood on either side of Ning Yu. Ning Yu. Yin Hua's eyes were extremely cold as he scolded, "Aren't you afraid of being bitten by teaming up with the flying pythons?" "Yes, I'm very afraid." Ning Yu pretended to be very afraid. But soon, Ning Yu returned to normal and said, "However, teaming up with the flying pythons is better than teaming up with you guys." Supreme 9 Purities Temple, Blood God Palace, Corpse Sect, and 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion. No matter which of these 4 forces, they all had enmity with Ning Yu. Under this premise, teaming up with the flying pythons that had sworn an oath was a wise choice. Don't be too proud. With your strength, how can you fight against so many of us? Yin Hua snorted. Why are you talking nonsense with him? Let's attack together. I don't believe that we can't kill him. Beside Yin Hua, the short-haired youth from Corpse Sect took a step forward and released his aura. The short-haired youth was called Shamo, and his cultivation was at grade 1 human supreme. I'm more than enough to deal with a clown like him. The long-haired man from Blood God Palace shrugged and looked indifferent. The long-haired man was called Shui Wuming, and he was also a grade 1 human supreme. Yin Hua, Shamo, and Shui Wuming. If Zhu Zhan was added to the mix, it would be 4 peerless geniuses at grade 1 human supreme. Even in the entire Sky Demon region, these 4 people could be considered top geniuses. However, the thing that Ning Yu was least afraid of was geniuses. In his previous life, Ning Yu was a peerless genius in the Sky Demon region. Even the older generation of martial artists were not as powerful as him. Strictly speaking, Yin Hua and the other 3 were considered juniors to Ning Yu. Shui Wuming, since you have a request, we naturally won't fight with you. Zhu Zhan was very smart. He had just fought with Ning Yu, so it was not a good time for him to make a move. After all, the main battlefield was not here, but the Beast King Palace. Shui Wuming was very confident in his strength. He snorted coldly, stomped his feet on the ground, and immediately charged out. Haha, what a fool. Seeing Shui Wuming charge out, Zhu Zhan smiled in his heart and said sinisterly. Indeed, he's stupid. Not only Zhu Zhan, but even Yin Hua and Shamo thought the same. It's not that simple. Talisman Supremacy shook his head and said to Yun Mu. Shui Wuming should have noticed something. What is it? Yun Mu asked doubtfully. The reason why Ning Yu protected the little flying python must be because he made some sort of agreement with the six-winged flying python. Chapter 930. Battle all of you, get out of the way. Ning Yu spoke in a deep voice with a grave expression as he watched Xue Wuming approach him. Although Xue Wuming's cultivation was only at grade 1 mortal sovereign, his strength was the strongest amongst the four of them. Although Ning Yu was not afraid of him, the Dark Emperor and the others were not too strong. If their fight affected the Dark Emperor and the little flying man, the gains would not make up for the losses. Therefore, Ning Yu turned around and instructed as he charged forward with the red demon sword in hand. Don't worry. The Dark Emperor knew that the enemy Ning Yu was facing was very strong. At this time, he definitely could not cause trouble for Ning Yu. Humph. I want to see just what capabilities you have. Xue Wuming snorted coldly. He took out a silver-white flying sword and slashed at Ning Yu's neck. A supreme grade king grade flying sword. White blood sword. As a top genius of the Blood God Palace, Xue Wuming's status in the Blood God Palace was many times higher than Qin Xiong's. Moreover, Xue Wuming's father was the deputy palace master of Blood God Palace. If it wasn't for the fact that Xue Wuming was unable to control a royal rank flying sword, Xue Wuming's father would have even gotten a royal rank flying sword for him. The difference in status made Xue Wuming the strongest among the four peerless geniuses. After all, whether it was Yin Hua, Shimo, or Zhu Zhen, none of them had a stronger background than Xue Wuming. It's actually nameless blood. On a distant mountain peak, Qin Xiong stared at Xue Wuming. A shocked expression appeared on her face. Is nameless blood very powerful? Qin Xiong knew Xue Wuming, but Lu Wei did not. At this time, Lu Wei was concerned about Ning Yu's safety and whether Ning Yu could defeat this genius called nameless blood. Amazing. Of course it's amazing. After taking a deep breath, Qin Xiong said, in the area where the Blood God Palace is located, everyone knows about Wuming Xue's name. It is said that Wuming Xue's combat power has reached the peak. From what I can see, Xue Wuming is only a grade 1 mortal sovereign. How strong could he be? The Li Fire Divine Condor curled his lips. He did not believe Qin Xiong's words. Reach the peak? What kind of joke was this? How could a first-grade human sovereign be worthy of the words reaching the pinnacle? Qin Xiong glanced disdainfully at the Li Fire Divine Condor and continued, if Xue Wuming wanted to kill you, he would not even need to use 10% of his strength. Impossible. The Li Fire Divine Condor exclaimed. The Li Fire Divine Condor was very confident in its own strength. Even a peerless genius like Ning Yu would not be able to defeat him with just 10% of his strength, let alone nameless blood. If nameless blood could defeat Ning Yu with just 10% of his strength, he would definitely be able to kill Ning Yu instantly. He would not be fighting Ning Yu like this. Boom. In front of the Beast King's palace, Ning Yu and nameless blood were engaged in an intense battle. Ning Yu wielded the red demon sword and slashed out several sword ripples. Every single one of them was extremely powerful. As for Xue Wuming, he brandished the white blood sword. Every single one of the sword ripples was extremely powerful, breaking through Ning Yu's sword ripples. Damn it! The two of them are actually so powerful. At this moment, Zhu Zhen's expression was extremely ugly. Originally, Zhu Zhen thought that Ning Yu's strength was only SOSO. At most, Ning Yu would only be able to contend against him. Zhu Zhen thought that as long as he used his trump card, he would be able to kill Ning Yu in an instant. From the looks of it, he was wrong. Extremely wrong. Ning Yu's strength was extremely powerful. Even if he used all his trump cards, he might not be able to kill Ning Yu. Fight. Fight with all your might. It would be best if both sides suffer. Zhu Zhen's eyes shone with a frightening light as he said viciously. Only when both Ning Yu and nameless blood suffered heavy losses could he completely dominate the Beast King's palace. Zhu Zhen did not think that Yin Hua and Shimo could contend against him. On the contrary, Yin Hua and Shimo did not think so. They did not think much of Zhu Zhen. Their thinking was very simple. They would wait for the battle between nameless blood and Ning Yu to reach a critical moment before launching a sneak attack. As long as the sneak attack succeeded, they could instantly get rid of the two big problems. Kid, if we continue to fight, both of us will definitely suffer heavy losses. Why don't we join forces? Although Nameless Blood was young, he was also an old fox. He had more or less guessed the thoughts of Zhu Zhan, Yin Hua, and the others. In addition, his original intention of fighting with Ning Yu was to control the little flying python so that the six-winged flying python would refrain from taking action. In the beginning, Nameless Blood might have wanted to kill Ning Yu. However, as the battle progressed, he gradually changed his mind. At this moment, even joining forces with Ning Yu might not be a bad idea. You want to join forces with me? Ning Yu raised his eyebrows when he heard Nameless Blood's spiritual voice transmission. How do we join forces? It's very simple. Give me the two little flying pythons, and I can join forces with you to fight against Zhu Zhan and the others. Nameless Blood said proudly, although you are very strong, it will be as difficult as ascending to the heavens if you want to deal with the three of them alone. What you said is actually very correct. Ning Yu nodded slightly and said, it's more than right. It's practically perfect. Nameless Blood continued, if the two of us join forces, even in the Beast King's palace, we will be able to sweep through everything. Hurry up and hand over the two flying pythons. You might have misunderstood me. Ning Yu shrugged and said, although you are right, I don't agree. Brat, you are playing with me. Nameless Blood's eyes turned cold as he berated. Playing with you? The corners of Ning Yu's lips curled up as he shook his head. You are wrong again. I am not playing with you. I am playing with a monkey. I will tear you apart. Nameless Blood naturally could not tolerate being treated like a monkey by Ning Yu. He shouted and immediately poured the yuan in his sea of consciousness into the white blood sword. Then, he charged forward. Seeing that Nameless Blood was getting closer and closer, Ning Yu did not retreat. Instead, he took a step forward and slowly closed his eyes. What is Ning Yu doing? Why is he giving up? Yunmu frowned and asked doubtfully when he saw Ning Yu's actions. It's not that simple. Since Ning Yu is doing this, he must have his reasons. The Talisman Supremacy said in a low voice. Aunt Yun, Ning Yu is the main person to deal with Zhu Zhan. If anything happens to him, the burden on our shoulders will increase. Yunmu said hesitantly. I know what you mean, but you can rest assured. Ning Yu will not be killed so easily. The Talisman Supremacy trusted Ning Yu very much. Hearing this, Yunmu didn't continue asking. Instead, he stared at Ning Yu. Ding! In the blink of an eye, a crisp sound rang out. It was obvious that Nameless Blood's white blood sword had slashed at Ning Yu's chest. Ha ha ha, brat, you still don't. What? The moment the flying sword touched Ning Yu's body, Nameless Blood laughed maniacally. However, something unexpected happened. To Nameless Blood's surprise, his white blood sword stopped in front of Ning Yu and did not advance at all. Chapter 931. Follow. I'm sorry, I might have disappointed you. Ning Yu raised his head and smiled at Nameless Blood. Then, Ning Yu suddenly stabbed with the red fiend sword in his hand. Pu. As Nameless Blood was still shocked by Ning Yu's extraordinary combat strength, he was stabbed by Ning Yu's sword. The sound of a flying sword stabbing into flesh resounded in the area. Swoosh. At this moment, everyone in the surroundings was stunned on the spot. Their mouths were slightly agape, and their faces were filled with disbelief. How is this possible? Especially Zhu Zhan, he was slightly stunned. In his opinion, both Ning Yu and Nameless Blood were top geniuses, and their strengths were on par with his. Logically speaking, Nameless Blood couldn't have been defeated so quickly. What was going on? What went wrong? Zhu Zhan didn't know, and neither did the others. Of course, as one of the parties involved, Nameless Blood knew very well. What kind of defensive armor are you wearing? Nameless Blood took a few steps back and endured the intense pain coming from his chest. He said in a deep voice, it can actually block my top-grade king-grade flying sword. Buzz. As Wu Mingshui's voice faded, a set of dark gold battle armor appeared on Ning Yu's body. Middle-grade king-grade armor. Nameless Blood knew his stuff, and he could tell the grade of the armor with a single glance. However, there was one thing that Nameless Blood didn't know. He didn't know that the armor was called Phantom Armor. Otherwise, he would definitely be shocked. Middle grade King grade armor? How can it block my top grade King grade flying sword? Nameless Blood couldn't believe that a middle grade King grade armor could actually block his fatal attack. Most importantly, he used a top grade King grade flying sword. Rumble. At this moment, the situation on the other side changed dramatically. With the addition of the metal-devouring demon lion, the six-winged sky-soaring python gradually gained the upper hand. With the ability of the six-winged sky-soaring python, it quickly turned the upper hand into victory. Bang! 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 The six-winged sky-soaring python took advantage of the moment when the venerable spirit cauldron and the others were careless to launch 3 powerful attacks in succession. Without a doubt, every attack landed on the spirit cauldron venerable one and the others. Pu. After spurting out a mouthful of blood, venerable spirit cauldron and venerable dragon slayer retreated to their respective camps. As for the six-winged sky-soaring python, it came to Ningyu's side with the metal-devouring demon lion. Thank you. The six-winged sky-soaring python was not an ungrateful person. He took out a storage bag and threw it to Ningyu. After receiving the storage bag, Ningyu split out a bit of his soul perception to check it, then nodded in satisfaction. It's a pleasure working with you. Ningyu smiled at the six-winged sky-soaring python and immediately looked at the Li flaming condor. Screech. The Li fire divine condor understood. It immediately let out a cry and flew out with Qin Xiong and Lu Wei. After a while, they landed in front of the Beast King Palace. Qin Xiong, Wu Mingxue exclaimed when he saw the familiar figure suddenly appear. Why are you with Ningyu? Qin Xiong glanced at Wu Mingxue, then stopped talking and retreated behind Ningyu. Ningyu, let go of Qin Xiong, and I can spare your life. Wu Mingxue said coldly. Back in the Blood God Palace, although Wu Mingxue and Qin Xiong's status were worlds apart, it did not stop Wu Mingxue from liking Qin Xiong. Wu Mingxue's liking could even be described as stubborn. If I can't get it, no one else can. Qin Xiong went to the Beast King Palace this time partly to avoid Wu Mingxue. Six-winged sky-soaring python, our agreement ends here. I'll take my leave first. You could not be bothered with Wu Mingxue. What does the grudge between you and Qin Xiong have to do with me? Now that the Spirit Cauldron Venerable and the others were seriously injured, it was a great opportunity to enter the Beast King Palace. If he missed this opportunity, there would be no more. Ningyu would definitely not waste it. Hold it. Seeing that Ningyu was about to leave, the six-winged sky-soaring python took out another storage bag and threw it to Ningyu. The things inside are very important. You can only open it when you reach the deepest part of the Beast King Palace. In addition, you can bring along the 4 little sky-soaring pythons. If you encounter any danger in the Beast King Palace, they can help you deal with it. Ningyu took a deep look at the six-winged sky-soaring python and nodded slightly. At this time, the six-winged sky-soaring python chose to give him a storage bag and let him bring along 4 little sky-soaring pythons. One had to admit that it was definitely not a good thing. However, Ningyu knew very well that a skinny camel was still bigger than a horse. If he did not agree to the six-winged sky-soaring python, he would definitely not be able to enter the Beast King Palace. If he entered the Beast King Palace first, he would have a high chance of obtaining the treasures inside. Ningyu knew this. Therefore, he stomped on the ground and his body shot out. Swish, 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 swish. Behind Ningyu, the Dark Emperor, Lu Wei, Metal-Devouring Demon Lion, Li Fire God Condor, Lightning Wolf King and even Qin Xiong rose from the ground and entered the Beast King Palace in an instant. Let's go too. Seeing that Ningyu and the others had left, the Talisman Supremacy raised his brows and shot out in a flash. Let's see who dares to step into the Beast King Palace without my permission. The six-winged sky-soaring python took a step out and stood firmly in front of the Beast King Palace. Six-winged sky-soaring python, you're severely injured now. If all of us join forces, you won't have a good time either. The Talisman Supremacy said coldly. I won't have a good time, but if you want to enter the Beast King Palace, You'll have to step over my dead body. The six-winged sky-soaring python said in a deep voice. You. The talisman supremacy's expression was very ugly. Although the six-winged sky-soaring python and the spirit cauldron venerable were also severely injured, as Ningyu had said, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. At this time, whoever stood out first would definitely be at a disadvantage. Hence, the talisman supremacy also found a place to sit down and chose to close his eyes to rest. In the Beast King Palace, the two forces were in a stalemate. Others might not know, but the six-winged sky-soaring python was very clear that this stalemate could not last for long. Half an hour. He could only last for half an hour at most. Half an hour later, he had to return to the Beast King Palace to replenish his energy. Otherwise, he would die a terrible death. Right now, his only hope was that Ningyu could find the core area of the palace under the guidance of the little sky-soaring python and completely destroy the array formation that trapped him. That was the only way he could regain his freedom. Otherwise, everything would be futile. Sho. In the bright and spacious Beast King Palace, several figures were advancing rapidly. That's right, these figures were Ningyu and the rest. After entering the Beast King Palace, Ningyu and the rest encountered two forks. Initially, Ningyu wanted to make a choice, but the little sky-soaring python directly flew into the forks on the left. Helplessly, Ningyu and the rest could only follow. Following behind the little flying python, Ningyu and the others finally stopped after about 10 minutes. What the F***CK? Are you sure you're not kidding me? You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,